Well, we're getting set up on the square for the coin toss. We've got the two umpires, Chris Watts and Rob White, and the referee, of course, Peter Such, familiar face in these parts. They're with the two captains, of course, Simon Harmer and Jack Taylor from Gloucestershire, so having the last-minute match debrief, and then we will get the coin toss underway and find out how this matchup is going to start. We've got our two mascots. Come this way. Our two mascots, Jimmy and Ellie. Hi, guys. Hi. Looking forward to it?
Yes.
You had to say yes, didn't you? Welcome, Ellie.
Thank you.
Right. We've got to turn around now because the coin toss is going to take place. Simon's got the coin. Tails is the call from Jack. And it's Essex that have won the toss. Right, Hummy. You won the toss. What are you going to do?
We're going to have a bowl, back ourselves to chase, so hopefully we can put things right and put in a strong performance in the first innings.
It's that chaotic time of the calendar where you have to look at the colour of the ball to remind what you're doing, but back into T20 action here at the Ambassador Cruise Line Ground. Important to get that vital victory to get this second block underway.
Yeah, we need to get a bit of momentum. It's basically a knockout competition from us here on in, so we need to repay the Chelmsford faithful, and hopefully we can do that tonight. Fridays here are always a great place to play, and hopefully we can put in a strong performance. The boys are ready, and we're going to try to put our best foot forward.
Team news for Essex?
Same team that played the last game for us.
Right, go and get set. Jack, welcome back to Chelmsford. Thoughts on the coin toss and what you're doing?
Yeah, look, we're pretty happy. We were probably going to have a bowl first, but we've seen there's been a couple of good scores here this year, and teams have been able to defend.
As defending champions, has it been a different season for Gloucestershire?
Yeah, look, we didn't start the competition the way we wanted, but I think those last two games leading into the break has given us a chance. So we know we've got to win the vast majority and take each game at a time, and that starts tonight. And
team news for Gloucestershire?
We've got one change from the last game. We got Marchant de Langers back in for Tom Smith.
Good, well, good to see you back here. Go and get set and have a good game tonight. So, Essex have won the toss and they are going to bowl. We'll run through the team news for you shortly.
Good evening to you and welcome to Chelmsford for the T20 Blast fixture between Essex and Gloucestershire in the Southern Group. It's a beautiful sunny July evening here in Chelmsford. The sun just dipping behind the pavilion here. As the Essex players go into a huddle, I will give you news of the toss shortly. But firstly, good evening to you. It's Victoria Polly from BBC Essex here. We'll be alongside Ed Seaborn from a Gloucestershire point of view to bring you commentary of tonight's match. And it's filling up nicely here at Chelmsford. Big competition in these parts today. The small matter of Justin Timberlake performing elsewhere in the city this evening. But I'm pleased to say plenty across the county and beyond have decided to spend their Friday night here watching this T20 Blast match after a 2-week break. So Essex have won the toss and elected to bowl first here at Chelmsford. They are unchanged from the defeat 2 weeks ago against Kent on a Friday evening. Essex still looking for a first win of the competition. Meanwhile, the defending champions at Gloucestershire won their last two, a resurgence in this competition, having had a difficult start. Have made a couple of changes to the side who last played in this one. And one of those headlines for you is that Marchant de Lange returns for the first time in the competition this season. So we are just about ready to get underway. Simon Harmer, the Essex captain, has the ball in his hand at the Sir Alistair Cook end of the ground, which is formerly the River end, and ready to bowl the first ball of the innings to Miles Hammond, who drives that one pleasantly into the offside. It's being chased and it won't be stopped. It will. A great stop on the boundary for Essex, as it was just in danger of racing away from, I think that's, who's that out there? Noah Thane, who was doing the chasing for Essex. But it's first runs on the board for Gloucestershire, 2 to Hammond. It's Harmer in with his spin. That one's cut away and that will find the boundary, pierces the field on the offside, and a first boundary with the second ball of the game as Gloucestershire move on to 6 without loss in quick succession. Due to have a sold-out crowd here at Chelmsford this evening. Can't see a few empty seats at the moment, but there's plenty of people milling around, getting food, drinks, and just generally chatting in the background, so maybe we'll see it fill up to capacity as Harmer is in. That one's driven through the offside, and again it won't be stopped by the Essex field. It got away from Thane on that occasion, and that's another boundary. So 2 fours already from the first 3 balls for Gloucestershire to move them into double figures. 10 without loss now on the board for the visitors, who were put in to bat first. Similar way Essex won the toss against Kent a couple of weeks ago, put them into bat first as well, as Harmer is in. That one's defended by Miles for the first dot ball of the evening. Miles Hammond, that is, with the bat. Left-hander turns that one into the leg side. Should just be a single as Benkenstein gets to the ball for Essex. And Hammond moves on to all 11 runs so far that have been scored in this Gloucestershire innings. It's been a shuffle round of the order for Gloucestershire in their order. Darcy Short at the other end, who's yet to face, has moved up as that one is driven, and mid-off will come round. In fact, it's long off where Michael Pepper has been stationed to field that ball for a single off the final ball of the over. 12 without loss from the first for Gloucestershire. And that was Darcy Short to face that last ball because of the 2 singles that we had at the end of that one. Yeah, they've had a shuffle round. So Cameron Bancroft, the Australian, who you would be used to seeing opening the batting, has been moved down to number 3, and I think we'll get some thoughts from Ed Seaborn on this as we go through the evening, but it sounds as if that has been part of the resurgence in the shuffle round for the visitors this evening. As for Essex, they've stuck with the same team that they've gone with for the past 3 matches of the T20 Blast. Not a huge amount of depth at the moment. I beg your pardon, they were missing Sam Cook, weren't they? The previous Friday that they were here. As Mohammed Amir is going to bowl from the Graham Gooch end, the Essex overseas, and that one is a square drive which is fielded in the deep by Shane Snater for a single. Essex not blessed with options, with Sam Cook away with the England squad, not involved in the test which has been going on, and what a curious day of cricket that's been between England and India, but he still is away with the squad. But they have what they have, as Amir is in over the wicket, the left-hander, as that one's defended back to him by Hammond for no run. And Essex were looking for a change of fortune when they switched from T20 Blast back to County Championship. A draw and then a defeat at Yorkshire hasn't provided the wins that they would have been hoping for. And now it's back to the second block of T20 Blast fixtures. As Amir is in, he's struck on the pads is Hammond. Umpire unmoved by that one. And there's no run taken as we say good evening to Ed Seaborn for the first time this evening.
Good evening. Did anybody miss me? No, I don't think so.
Well, I did give you the big build-up to say you would be along.
Yes, I am. I think we chose right as far as the order speed was concerned once it was taken at the food truck down there.
I haven't explained.
Oh, you
to
haven't
the
gone
listeners
there.
where you
Okay.
were,
I thought I'd better be honest with where I've been.
As Amir is on his way in, that one is edged and caught at backward point. Is it? No, it's spilled. Well, I thought that was Dean Elgar holding on for the first Essex wicket of the evening in the second over, but he's got it caught under his body and he slaps his hand in frustration. And that's a drop for Essex, as Ed's got a better view of the replay from me.
Yeah, I mean, I say first up, even if he ended up half volleying it, he should have moved forward because he had time. You know, it's sort of a gully catch, but he's fielding at short third, so he had time to move in and make it a bit easier for himself.
As Amir is in, that one's lofted high and over the field in the leg side by Hammond for a boundary. It's the first one of this over. We saw him hit a couple in the first. And so
You did.
I saw him hit a couple in the first, and Gloucestershire have moved on to 17 without loss.
No, to be honest, I didn't even realise from the noise in the food queue that the game had started. But obviously Gloucestershire hitting 3 boundaries didn't meet with the rapturous approval of the home fans. So I didn't realise that there'd been an entire over.
As Amir is in, that one's edged and caught on the second attempt at slip. Paul Walter diving to his left-hand side to dismiss Miles Hammond in the second over. A drop, just a couple of deliveries before Essex have their first wicket. Gloucestershire 17 for 1.
A couple of outside edges in the over from Hammond. As so often happens, the ball after a drop catch goes for 4, but Mohammed Amir straight back on it, playing against a county that he briefly played for with a short spell back in 2022, and it looked like a fairly typical Mohammed Amir dismissal, really, pitching it up, left arm over, bit of a way swing possibly. I haven't seen the replay yet, but we're getting it now. Actually not really. Hammond's backed away and turned quite a straight delivery into a ball on about 4th stump, even though it was aimed at the stumps, and then a thick edge, and second attempt caught, and Hammond, who is so often the aggressor in Gloucestershire's opening partnerships, goes early, and the 2 Aussies come to the middle together, with Bancroft joining short. Bit of a reshuffle in Gloucestershire's top order, with Bancroft having opened with Hammond. That was the opening partnership that scored the bulk of Gloucestershire's runs last year, but a change was needed after Gloucestershire lost their first 5 games since they've moved short up to open, and Bancroft to 3. That's when they've had an upsurge, if you can call a couple of wins an upsurge, but I suppose compared to 5 losses it is.
Take that.
Yep. Shane Snater, always a privilege. He's going to bowl the 3rd over. Keeper up to the stumps, and short, struck on the pad going down the leg side. Not really much of an appeal that was entertained by Rob White. There's no run. Just wandering off towards Simon Harmer, maybe to give a brief explainer on why that wasn't given out. But Darcy Short, who has really yet to fire with the bat in this competition, having been here since the start, as Snater bowls inside edged, and that will be 4 runs across this quick outfield. That is a streaky shot from Darcy Short, but they all count. He was looking, I think, to drive through the offside. It's gone basically 180 degrees from where he aimed it. I'll see if I'm doing him a disservice on the replay, but maybe not 180 degrees, but about 90 anyway.
Yeah, but you do just see how quick this outfield is going to be this evening for any of those shots driven along the ground.
21 for 1. In goes Snater with a slip still in place, bowls to Short, who looks as if he's a little bit suspicious of that delivery. Just knocks it into the onside. The ball doesn't go very far, so score remains 21 for 1. Darcy Short striking so far this season at 122 and a half. He's more of a higher average type player, so consistency tends to be more of the name of his game, but he'd like a big score at some point soon, I'm sure. There's a slower ball down the leg side, missed by Short, but wided by umpire White, so that makes it 22 for 1. And really, power plays have been Gloucestershire's issue this season. Since they made that change, they scored 52 and 46 in the 2 games that they won. But before then, they actually had even to crack 40 in a power play this season. Snater in bowls, tucked into the leg side by Short, up to mid-on. They'll sprint through for a single, a slightly untidy throw, but there's plenty of Essex fielders to back that one up. Moves the score on to 23 for 1. But really the big news this evening is the return of Marchant de Lange. The big man is back for Gloucestershire, having rolled his ankle, I think it was, in a championship match pretty early on in the season. Gloucestershire have been missing him across all formats, really. Somebody could be so destructive with the bat and with the ball. Snater into Bancroft. His first delivery's clipped away between backward square and fine leg. Whilst the outfield's quick, it's not quite that quick. So Bancroft is off the mark with 2. And the score up to 25 for 1. And really the return of championship cricket saw the real return of form of Cameron Bancroft, who had that massive score of 175 in the second innings against Derbyshire. But whilst he does have a 50 this season, as Snater bowls, it's pulled away, dragged into the onside. Probably should have been stopped at Short mid-wicket, although it's not easy on those practice pitches on the square. But well, I don't know. It's hard to tell exactly from this angle how much of a fumble that was. What I do know is that there were 2 runs scored, and it's 27 for 1 at the end of 3.
Yeah, it was just Matt Critchley. Don't know whether that was a bit of a bobble or he just dived too late at it. He just seemed to completely miss it and it went underneath him. Luckily for Essex, that didn't result in a boundary for the visitors, as Mohamed Amir, who took that wicket in his previous over. His first of the evening is going to continue from the Graham Gooch end. John Cox with the gloves, don't forget, for Essex. This has been the case for the past few games in this competition since Adam Rossington came out of the side, as Amir is in, and that one's defended by Short into the offside for no run. That hair is quite the sight, with his red back to his cap and blue back to the shirt, and then in stark contrast to that, the bright blonde mullet, is it, sticking out of the back? Yeah, I think there's a few mullets in the Essex squad at the moment. When Paul Walter gets one, that's when I'll be worried. Amir is in, and that's come off a bottom edge of the bat. He wasn't sure where that one had ended up, was Darcy Short, but he's safe, and there's no run. You're not tempted by that mullet hairstyle? As in to get one. I don't know. If Gloucestershire drag themselves back from 2 wins and 5 defeats and make it to the quarterfinals, I might consider it. Do I need to make
You're
sure
gonna
we've
have to
got a
push.
copy of this audio
You're going to have to put. I
somewhere?
thought you were about to say you have to push me to make a definite commitment there. Okay, I'll do it. I'll do it.
27 for 1 as Amir is in. That one's driven into the offside, fielded at cover by Charlie Allison for no run. I won't. I've just put on record.
I think it's probably wiser. I'm not sure that I can really pull it off, but there we go. That's probably part of the motivation for Gloucestershire to do it. But yeah, it's a long way back. As I mentioned, 5 losses already. They've only played 7. Most of the teams in the group have played 8, but realistically, you can probably, to be sure, only afford to lose 6 to make it. 8 wins and 6 defeats, and Gloucestershire already at 5.
As Amir is in, oh, that's gone big from short. He's clipped that one, and it's gone for 6 over deep mid-wicket. He got hold of that completely, did Darcy Short, and on to 33 for 1, Gloucestershire go.
And a catch down in the crowd, hence the groan. But that was much more in Darcy Short's wheelhouse from Mohamed Amir. It was a half tracker, to be honest, on about hip height, and that really is Darcy Short's happy zone. That pull shot, plays that sort of short arm pull extremely well.
Amir in, and he's had a waft at that one, and it's found its way to the boundary for 4, just an edge off the bat of Short, which he was wafting at the ball, and that's 4 to the score for Gloucestershire.
Taking the slip out, that would have been right to slip, but you don't tend to have a slip in the 4th over, and certainly not when the previous ball's been pumped for 6. So one of those things, I guess. It does seem to be, at least Short especially, in his 11 balls so far, seems to be a bit suspicious of the bounce. Whether that's something that will change as the game goes on.
Amir is in, he's gone big again, has Short, and he's going to bounce safe in front of the fielder in the deep on the offside. Shane Snater, who's out there in the sunshine, 38 for 1.
But a few times we've seen him sort of hang there on the back foot, and then a couple of times he's had to come down quite late on it, as it's a bit fuller than, either the length is a bit fuller or the bounce isn't quite as high as he thinks. And then yet you see that clean pickup shot over the leg side. So clearly, in terms of pace, I think the pitch is looking great, but whether it's just a case of Darcy Short getting settled again, because I think he did go back to Australia in between these 2 blocks of I guess T20 cricket, sorry, mixed with the Championship, having had 2 4-dayers. Darcy Short not involved in the 4-day side of things, so whether he's just finding his feet again a little bit, I don't know, or whether it's something to watch. The pitch does look very green from up here, but I don't imagine that means it's going to seam around corners, because it's a T20. Nobody's turned up to watch seam bowling. We'll see 6s flying. Noah Thane into the attack ward. He tried to get that one flying, did Darcy Short. It was a big swing, attempting to pull it away into those houses over there and the balconies over mid-wicket, and completely missed it. Short into the pitch again. It didn't look too dissimilar to the ball that he hit for 6, but I don't think he's particularly close to that. Mid-wicket drops back, so 2 fielders back deep on the leg side, everybody up on the offside. So Thane doesn't really want to be giving too much width here outside the off stump. He doesn't. It's tight to the stumps and driven down to mid-on. Sliding stop from Paul Walter up there. And a single added, 39 for 1. And Gloucestershire, who, with De Lange's return, I guess, although Zaman Akhtar showed that he can certainly clear the boundary when he was batting at 8, but it does make Gloucestershire's batting feel a little bit deeper, as well as giving them that 3rd frontline seam option without having to play Ajit Singh Dale, who's been terrific over the last few games, but his focus had been more red ball recently. Thane into Bancroft, who turns it into the onside gently, and there's no run.
I was saying before you arrived, Ed, that there's big competition for the T20 tonight, this evening in Chelsea, because Justin Timberlake is playing at the Racecourse.
Oh, now I saw a poster for this, and I thought, Essex must be the only place in the world where you could have a poster with Justin Timberlake and Ollie Murs on, and it's Ollie Murs who's got the big headline font. Full delivery and driven back past the bowler, over his head and all the way just for 6. Lost sight of that just as it got into the balcony down below us, but Bancroft, I did mention as I was interviewing him after the last championship match that I hope he doesn't try to kill me again like he did when we were here last year for a Middlesex game. The ball struck this divider between the windows that we're staring out of. There's not much of it, and somehow the ball whacked into it. So he's trying. 45 for 1, short ball, Bancroft pulls it away through mid-wicket, and that's 4 more. They've only got one fielder out deep on the leg side in front of square. They've gone with a fine leg, and Bancroft goes 6-4 and Gloucestershire 49 for 1.
Yeah, as you mentioned, the power play is potentially at times been Gloucestershire's downfall, but they're just looking to add as many runs as they possibly can here, and Noathay's been punished on the last couple of deliveries.
Yeah, wickets in hand at the back end of the power play. Last ball of the 5th over, Thane bowls. It's whipped away, slightly uppishly, but only the square leg umpire particularly close to it. Bancroft jogs through for a single. He's on to 15 off 6 deliveries, and Gloucestershire's 50 comes up with the end of the 5th over. Just the loss of Miles Hammond so far, caught at slip off the bowling of Amir for 15. And Bancroft, who, well, I'm sure he'd be the first to say has been struggling really to middle it in the Blast this year. A strike rate for the season of only just over 100. It's rounded up to 102, but he'd certainly be wanting to improve that, and has very much done so in the early going with 15 off his first 6.
Shane Snater is going to swap ends, so we have seen him bowl from the Sir Alistair Cook end earlier on in the innings. He's going to bowl from the Graham Gooch end, which is the end closest to Hayes Close, where they've got a nice bit of shade directly opposite us as Snater is in, and that one's just gently dabbed into the offside, straight to a fielder for no run. Just going back to your point on Ollie Murs and Justin Timberlake, I think Essex are very proud of Ollie Murs.
I'm sure they are.
And their headliners on separate nights as well,
Yes,
so it
yeah.
hasn't been that Ollie Murs
it was just the
upstaged
size of the
Justin
font,
Timberlake.
I thought, told a bit of a story.
Yeah, it's a very busy weekend of music here in the county. Shane Snater's on his way in, and that one is driven straight by Bancroft. There's a tumbling stop behind the bowler, so it's just a single. 51 for 1.
It is very much gig season, and Gloucestershire's last 4-day, I really hope I never have to experience this again. Through the entire final day, as Gloucestershire were batting to try and save the game, which ultimately they did, we had floating over from the other side of the park Alanis Morissette warming up, which made for a slightly curious soundtrack to a county championship game.
Shane Snater's coming around the wicket, and that one's clipped into the leg side by Short, fielded at mid-on for no run. I was going to see how many Justin Timberlake songs I could get in, but I'm not.
No, I know I'm no good at that. I did say that Tim van der Hoogten had the Jagged Little Pill in his hand, but that's as far as I went. Because to be honest, I had to Google. Other search engines are available.
51 for 1 as Snater is in. Oh, that's come off the inside edge of the bat. Short has a look before he takes the run as he sees it just dribble into the pitch and away. Far enough from the stumps. Close call though, 52 for 1.
Certainly using all parts of his bat there, Darcy Short. If he could do that and just dab it a little bit harder, he could patent a new shot. There's not many people who've got a shot named after them, but he could do that if he could perfect it.
Snater is in. He's gone big with that one, has Cameron Bancroft, and it's gone for 6. Another clip into the leg side from the number 3 for Gloucestershire. 58 for 1 now on the board with 1 ball of the power play to go.
I don't mean to labour the point, and I'm not trying to do Bancroft down at all, but in this innings already he's almost hit as many sixes as he has in the campaign so far. And just a clean pickup. He just made a really nice noise off the bat, and as soon as he hit it, you just knew where it was going, even if there were a fielder out there, which there isn't.
And
It's
I'm not
always
sure
going to
we
clear him.
knew where it's gone because we've needed a new ball already
Yeah, I think
to come on.
I mean, it didn't clear the stand by much, but I think it has gone down behind that stand, and presumably, well, I don't know, there's probably no garden down there, but into...
Well, just behind
that-
the Felsted School
Yeah,
stand, there
exactly.
are some trees, so there's a bit of greenery to rummage through. Shane Slater has a ball in hand, though, as he's bowled him. Stump out of the ground from Shane Snater. Bancroft, who's hit a 6 off the previous delivery, is dismissed by the Essex bowler, and Gloucestershire at the end of the power play, 58 for 2.
Yeah, looking to back away, Bancroft. I don't know if maybe he had premeditated something, but he certainly tried to open up the offside after having cleared the leg side. And he must be walking off thinking, God, I wish I'd just stayed there, because he might have been able to play pretty much the same shot. He was bowled middle stump trying to play the cut shot. So that shows you how far across he'd gone. And that is a key strike, because it was Gloucestershire's power play very much so before that. I think Gloucestershire will still be fairly happy in terms of the runs, but Bancroft was the aggressor and was the one striking the ball better out of the two. 22 off 10, even with that ball there to be dismissed from. So yeah, it just allows Essex the chance maybe to rattle through a couple of overs of spin possibly and pull things back into this middle phase now.
Yeah, Essex will be pleased to have taken that wicket with the sixes that you mentioned in there, Ed, coming for Cameron Bancroft in that 22.
Here's Simon Harmer bowling round the wicket, and this has come off a leading edge into the offside, and there's no run as Darcy Short continues to find new parts of that bat to use. Staring about into the onside, you'll see that there's no fielder saving the one in front of square on the leg side. He sweeps backward of square, and that has a chance to be 4. It's got more than a chance, it will be 4. So just paddling it away. Harmer, I guess he's probably feeling with this field he's got to bowl quite leg side-ish, but that was just pushed a bit too far and quite full, really inviting the sweep, and Darcy Short obliges. So 62 for 2 after 6.2. Harmer in now, and Short plays that one straight down to long off. And Michael Pepper emerges from down below us to do the fielding. Single taken, 63 for 2. And Ollie Price is on strike. And Ollie Price, he's had a pretty good season so far. Him and Jack Taylor, and then once Graham van Buren was added to the side, it's been Jack Taylor and Ollie Price who've had the best of things so far. He gets a full toss and sweeps it perfectly between the two fielders on the onside and for 4. You can put your money on Ollie Price sweeping straight away when he comes out there against a spinner, especially an off-spinner. And Harmer from round the wicket just bowling a low full toss, and really exactly what Ollie Price would have wanted to get off the mark with a boundary. Harmer in reverse sweep this time. He's hit that in front of square. That's a good looking shot, but it won't quite bring 4 runs. Sliding stop from Snater. Coming round from deep backward point, they'll trot back for 2.
Really good fielding in the deep there from Shane Snater. Had a lot of ground to make up and get round. I just wondered on that occasion whether Price had found the gap just as he did on the leg side in the previous delivery, but really good stop from Shane Slater.
Harmer bowls, another reverse sweep. He's hit that finer this time, and that will spin away to the boundary for 4 more. So that is a cracking start for Ollie Price. They've just lost a wicket, Gloucestershire, and then the new batter comes in and hits 10 off 3 balls. So 73 for 2 is the Essex total after 7 overs. And Ollie Price, who I remember, I think back in his first year in first-class cricket, Gloucestershire played a championship match here. Essex romping to victory. But after that match, I remember a young Ollie Price sitting with Simon Harmer, presumably talking off-spin for a good half an hour after the game. And a few years on, Ollie Price, England Lions, and
Wow,
key component of this T20 side. Simon Harmer still going about his business. It's nice.
Yeah, and I think that is something you can say about Simon Harmer is he's always got time for everyone. I remember something similar when Shoaib Bashir made his first-class debut here for Somerset against Essex in the County Championship, and again a long time after the game they were in conversation, and look how his career has escalated. That would only have been a couple of years ago, really.
I was about to ask whether that would be the social media clip game where Ben Stokes saw Shoaib Bashir and thought, let's get this guy into the England side, or would that have been later?
That might have come later.
Yeah.
It was just the fact it was his debut. As Paul Walter begins a new over, that was volleyed into the offside, straight to the hands of Charlie Allison on the bounce, I must stress, for no run.
I'd want that one back, Darcy Short, and you can tell from his body language as well. I think he might even have turned round to Jordan Cox and said something there, or maybe Jordan Cox said something to him. It was a pretty rank delivery, short and wide, and there's only deep cover out there as well.
It was a dot ball from Paul Walter, who is in, and that one is a bounce for a 4. Over the square leg umpire, bounced just inside the boundary for Ollie Price, who's enjoying his time, having come to the wicket off 11 deliveries, is that now for Ollie Price?
That was short.
Short, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, he's
played. Equally enjoying his time there. He's on 29 now, 77 for 2.
It's that favourite shot again. It's that swing pull off. Not that short of a length, was short enough though.
Paul Walter is in. That one's dug out by Short for the single on this occasion. Up to long on for that one run.
But you're not really going to feel safe here. You never particularly feel safe batting first. I guess it's why both sides wanted to bowl first. Jack Taylor said at the toss that he would have bowled first if he'd won the toss. You just always feel small ground, good pitch to bat on. You tend to want to chase, but equally if you bat first and bat well and put a big score on the board, there's that immediate scoreboard pressure which you don't have batting first.
Glamorgan and Kent in the previous games here this season have posted 200 plus. And Essex haven't been able to get there, as that one's driven by Price to mid-off for a single, 79 for 2.
But Gloucestershire will have to do something that they haven't done this season, which is win a game where they've batted first. They haven't actually batted first very much, but both their wins in the last 2 games have come when they've been chasing. David Payne hitting that last ball 6 to win the last game against Hampshire on pink for Sid Knight.
As Walter is in, and that one's just played into the pitch. And they'll think about coming back for 2. There's a mix-up in the middle, and there's a run-out. There was hesitation on coming back for the second run between the Gloucestershire pair, and that means that Essex are able to get the ball in quickly and get the run-out, and Gloucestershire 79 for 3.
Well, that is a needless waste from a Gloucestershire point of view. I don't think there was ever really 2 there, but neither batter seemed particularly decisive about what they were going to do. If Darcy Short had sprinted, he might have had a chance, but he ended up seemingly roasting Ollie Price, because you're thinking as Price in that situation, as you turn and look at your non-striker, that it's the non-striker who's running to the danger end. So you think, well, actually, I'm going to be fine here. So if Short wants to come, then I'll be okay. But then Short comes, he stops, and that's it for Ollie Price. He's just got no chance to turn and get back. And I think the throw may even have hit direct, not that it needed to, but it was certainly a good throw anyway. And Gloucestershire have just got to be a bit careful. They've had a couple of starts from Bancroft and Ollie Price, who've both been striking the ball beautifully since they've come out, but now they do find themselves 3 down with a ball to go in the 8th, and just can't keep affording to be losing wickets when you've got Charlesworth, Van Buren in next, then you're down to De Lange and the bowlers, so might have to whisper it, consolidate for a bit.
Walter is in to the captain. Taylor turns that one into the leg side. Benkenstein, by the way, with the work in the field to get that run out for Essex. So at the end of the 8th over, Gloucestershire 81 for 3.
Yeah, and Short you'd think, really, in general, his role would be to bat through the innings. I mean, if Short were to go, then maybe Bancroft might have taken on a different role, but it was good to see Bancroft taking on the aggressor's role, and then Ollie Price coming out and being as positive as he was. But now it may be that with the skipper out there, Jack Taylor, they may just have to think, okay, couple of overs here, just try and maybe work things about and then launch again, although that doesn't tend to be the modern way. It tends to be just continue launching, but I'm not sure that will be what will happen. I think probably Jack Taylor will look to give himself a little bit of time. It's what bringing him a bit up the order of late has done for him. Benkenstein bowls will certainly have a go at that, as it's short and down the leg side and missed, and a wide is signalled because he missed it. 82 for 3. Jack Taylor with the unbeaten 54 to see Gloucestershire home in their first win of the season at Canterbury, as he gets a maybe just low full toss. He had to bring out the shovel for that one and drives it to long off and picks up a single. 83 for 3. But yeah, through the troubled times at the start of the season as well, Jack Taylor did look in pretty good touch, so I'll be hoping to continue that this evening. Benkenstein, the leg spinner, bowling to Short, who drives fluently through wide mid-off, but Michael Pepper is one of the best fielders around, and he's certainly not taking 2 to his arm from a short boundary towards long off. 84 for 3.
Now Essex benefit from Pepper in the field in this format of the game, usually keeping wicket in the Championship.
Benkenstein bowls, driven and just past a sprawling Benkenstein. It was one of those where you have to launch yourself towards the non-striker and hope there isn't a horrible collision. He got some sort of a hand on it, but not enough to prevent the single. So Gloucestershire have scored off every ball this over, plus the wide. As Benkenstein bowls to Short, it is short, and it's cut away to deep cover for a single. Not to a short fielder, unfortunately. 86 for 3. As Darcy Short moves on to 33 from 25 deliveries. So has been the more circumspect of the Gloucestershire batters so far, as Benkenstein bowls. It's short and down leg again, and Jack Taylor completely miscues that down to fine leg. Another delivery, I think, that he'd be wandering towards the non-strikers end thinking, give me that one again, because fine leg was up. But 87 for 3, last ball coming of the 9th over. It's in now, and Short hits this one way up in the air. He surely has to be caught. There's 2 fielders moving towards it, and it's taken by Simon Harmer. He is not going to drop a ball, surely, that he gets 2 hands on Simon Harmer. Those bucket hands just swallow the ball up, and Gloucestershire are now in serious trouble. Darcy Short, the man who was trying to be the anchor, has gone, and after 9 overs, Gloucestershire 87 on the board, which is great, but 4 wickets down, which is decidedly not great if you're a Gloucestershire fan.
A 7th wicket of the T20 Blast for young Luke Benkenstein there, and there was a very, as you can imagine, authoritative call it looked, wasn't it, from the captain Simon Harmer, because it spent a long time and it went a long way up in the air. He's coming round for it. I think Michael Pepper wasn't too far away either, because he was on the long on boundary as well. So there were plenty of fielders looking to get under it from the Essex point of view, but Harmer, the captain, says that one's mine. Off he goes, dives for it, makes it look easy when actually it's probably quite a difficult one to take as you fall to the floor. But he gets a wicket, Benkenstein gets a wicket, Harmer gets a catch, and Essex have Gloucestershire 87 for 4.
Yeah, well, that was a really tough catch. I mean, you don't practice those catches, or see them practicing those catches so much, where you're having to run back, and it was over his right shoulder, but a lot of ground to make up. The ball going miles up in the air. At least he didn't have the sun to contend with as well. That was about the only thing that was with him for that catch. But it was just hit so far up that, as you say, Pepper coming in from long off, you might have thought, well, that's more his catch. But because it went absolutely nowhere, Harmer had to take charge, and a great take.
Oh, this is me, isn't it? As Matt Critchley begins a new over, the 10th over of the innings, and that one is played away for a single. So Matt Critchley, some more leg spin from the Graham Gooch end on this occasion. Is a single to Taylor, 88 for 4. So we'll see the first of Ben Charlesworth to face now for Gloucestershire.
Yeah, happy memories of this ground. Ben Charlesworth scored a 19-ball 50 here 2 years ago.
As Critchley is in, and that one's turned into the leg side by Charlesworth, who is off the mark, 89 for 4. Yes, I remember that one. I think it was the two of us on commentary on that occasion as well.
I mean, it was remarkable. I had to remind myself of just how quickly he accelerated in that innings as well.
Critchley is in, bit of flight in that one, is played back to the bowler by Taylor for no run. And of course at that point we were just pleased to have some cricket, because so many times in recent history the Essex against Gloucestershire fixture has been fallen foul to the weather, as this time it's played gently into the offside by Taylor. He'll pick out the fielder, so they'll only get a single for it. Yeah,
it was 4 consecutive washouts on this ground between Essex and Gloucestershire before that. It's scarcely believable, really. 4 in a row. And then for good measure, the next year it was washed out at Bristol.
Critchley into the left-hander Charlesworth, who dabs that one into the offside and will come through for a single to add to the score, 91 for 4. And of course last year the first game of the season was a win over Essex for Gloucestershire in their road to finals day and eventually lifting the trophies. Critchley is in, that one's driven into the offside by Taylor, again picks out a fielder. Good over, good first over from Matt Critchley, 4 from it, 91 for 4.
Yeah, so Gloucestershire just starting to lose their way a bit in this innings, so there is still some batting to come, but they wouldn't want to be using it for another few overs yet with Jack Taylor and Charlesworth at the crease. It's been a really rough campaign for Charlesworth so far, because so often he's been coming in with very little time, and also with Gloucestershire miles behind the rate, and when that happens it's so often a recipe for a run of low scores, and that is what it has been for Charlesworth. However, he's coming in here with plenty of time and the opportunity actually to even play himself in, which is rare. You don't always get that at 6, and he's getting it this evening, and will want to make it count. Benkenstein over the wicket bowling, and that's tucked into the leg side. They set off for the first one briskly, but it's a little bit once bitten, twice shy, I think. As far as the running between the wickets goes, there was a single in that last over to extra cover as Jack Taylor hit it quite gently that they didn't go for. So you can see the caution starting to creep in after that, well, sort of flurry of wickets, really. 92 for 4. Benkenstein to Taylor, who swats this one down the ground. He's not got any elevation on it. Hit it pretty well, but along the ground. And another single is taken. So Jack Taylor 7 from 9. And I think he wants a new bat. He's decided that the toe end of that has gone from that shot. As Charlesworth inside edges, we're seeing that quite a bit. Charlesworth now, like Darcy Short, again just really stuck on the crease, and that was a ball really that he probably needed to be forward to, given that it didn't get up masses, but the inside edge brings a single to Short fine. And maybe whilst you've got the short boundaries and the quick outfield, maybe it's not quite the absolute belter that would lead you to think Gloucestershire have to score 200 on it. They might, if these two can build a partnership, still get there, but those are the sorts of assessments that are going to need to be made by somebody of the experience of Jack Taylor. He's got his changed bat. Benkenstein bowls to him. This is driven on the bounce to, good grief, on the bounce to extra cover. And I'm not even sure I can call that a bump ball, because the ball was driven so far in front of Jack Taylor. But anyway, there's no run as Benkenstein floats that one up there, but there's enough dip there to take it down to the toe end of that bat from Jack Taylor. Does he want a third bat?
Again,
Benkenstein is destroying bat after bat of Jack Taylor. So they've got the run rate now. It's fallen from 10s through the 9s and now into the 8s as that's been edged. And oh dear me, a comical piece of fielding at short third. It's Snater, I think, who ends up flat on his backside. And the ball goes straight past him. It spins. Mohamed Amir. Apologies to Shane Snater. One of my favourite cricketers, Shane Snater, and I've just done him a disservice. It was short and it was cut away off an edge, and it had a wicked bit of spin on it that Mohamed Amir, I'm afraid, didn't read at all, and ended up, as I say, on his backside as though somebody had pulled the rug out from underneath his feet, and that is a real bonus boundary to end that over. 99 for 4 Gloucestershire, 11 overs gone.
Yeah, that's disappointing for Essex. Mohamed Amir has actually just gone off the pitch, may have been something needing attention anyway. So we do have a sub on for Essex as Matt Critchie is continuing from the Graham Gooch end. That one's a square drive, which will just be a single for Taylor. So he's found the fielder in the deep for Essex. That's the 100 runs up in the 12th over, 100 for 4.
His previous 5 balls on this ground in terms of run scoring, Ben Charlesworth, 32 runs. 8 from his first 5 here.
Critchley is in, that's past the outside edge of Charlesworth's bat.
The Google. That, I don't think was picked by Ben Charlesworth, and he went forward thinking that he was going to maybe push a single to long off, and that's turned away from him.
Critchley is in, he goes for the sweep round the corner, and it's picked up at short fine leg for just a single, so 2 singles so far from the first 3 balls of this Matt Critchley over, 101 for 4.
Surprising little bit of turn. I mean, it doesn't look like a surface that would turn a huge amount. Gloucestershire going with the extra seamer this evening.
Critchley is in, oh, that's up in the air, that's a big, big drive over the head of the bowler, and for 6 runs. He's got hold of that one, has Jack Taylor, to take Gloucestershire on to 107 for 4.
Doesn't matter too much which way you're turning the ball if it's on that length. That's the sort of slot length that there's so much practice done in terms of see the ball in that area and just swing through it. And as you mentioned, once you can read the bounce seemingly, that seems to be more the issue rather than anything pace-wise. It looks like a very true pitch in terms of pace. So yeah, to be honest, even pace. I mean, you take basically everything out of the equation, I'm afraid, when you bowl on that length, and Jack Taylor hits it a long way.
A long way into Hayes Close, so the ball has been changed as that was gently driven back to the bowler by Taylor, who's on to 15 from that 6 on the previous delivery.
His first boundary, but he has consolidated, and now maybe he's thinking it's time to ramp it up.
Critchley is in, and getting low to that one was Taylor. Plays it to backward point. End of the 12th over, 107 for 4.
Yeah, so it's only a run a ball at the moment for Jack Taylor, but I think in innings that had to be played that way, given those quick losses. It was Bancroft out to the last ball of the power play, then Ollie Price and Darcy Short in consecutive overs in the 8th and 9th, and basically had 2 batters out there who were having to start their innings completely from scratch. So a little bit of rebuilding, now 8 overs to go. Can Gloucestershire take advantage towards the back end and continue to build this partnership? As I say, Graham van Buren due in next, and then, well, I think there'd be almost a sense of collective disappointment if Marchant de Lange didn't come out wielding the blade at some point. The entertainment machine. Change of bowling, Simon Harmer is back. 2 overs of 27 so far. He bowls to Charlesworth, who chips it in the air, and he'll get a little fortunate there, because the ball lands well shy of Michael Pepper at long off. He ended up miscuing it badly enough that he gets away with it, and a single is added to his score. Certainly came down the pitch with all good intentions there, Ben Charlesworth, but didn't really get to the pitch of the ball. He's still there. Harmer to Jack Taylor. It's a full toss, and it's almost a high enough full toss that Jack Taylor wasn't expecting it. Miscues it completely towards mid-wicket. And again, Gloucestershire have to content themselves with a single.
Yeah, that run rate sitting just below 9 at the moment.
Simon Harmer in the sunglasses bowls, a very slow delivery, and Charlesworth can only defend that one into the offside. A very respectful treatment of the great Simon Harmer there from Ben Charlesworth, but maybe that's the way to go. Harmer continues to take all the pace off. No, he doesn't. He goes quicker and he's driven through the offside. There'll be at least 2. I think that's all it will be. And as Charlesworth hustles in to the crease at the striker's end, and the score moves on to 111 for 4. It's a short hit towards the dressing room area.
It's the shorter boundary side, isn't it? Benkenstein out there patrolling in the deep for Essex.
Pitch isn't miles off to one side. Reverse sweep attempted from Charlesworth. Maybe, is it angling down? Well, they're going to look at a replay. We're at long off here, so not the ideal position as far as LBWs, but we'll get a replay. They take a leg by as we have a look here. Too high, I think, maybe. It hit Charlesworth almost on the upper body as he was down low trying to reverse sweep. Harmer bowls and Taylor flaps at this one, hits it into the ground, and Harmer tidies up. So only 5 runs off that over, and Essex continue to have a bit of a squeeze on here with the spinners, who, particularly the leg spinners, have done a really good job as far as slowing this innings down. Benkenstein and Critchley, 4 overs, 1 for 26 between them so far, so only going at, what, 6.5 and over.
Yeah, that's really good work from the Essex bowlers. I think at times when you look at where things have gone wrong for them in the competition, they haven't bowled well enough. They haven't been able to finish teams off when they've taken wickets, but it's been really good to see not just one of the bowlers bowling well, but there's been some good spells here from, like you say, particularly spin. We are going to see Noah Thane return to the attack for Essex, playing in just his 3rd T20 match. Sorry, 4th. He's got 1 wicket so far in the competition as he is in, and that one is lofted over square leg, fielded in the deep for a single. Again, it's good work from Essex in the field. They're just limiting the amount that Gloucestershire can get on the board at the moment and just putting that pressure on this innings. 113 for 4.
Yeah, it's good work to get Pepper in the hot zone out at deep mid-wicket. It's basically 1 or 4 over to that leg side, because that was actually kind of in the gap. It wasn't middled, but yeah, you're going to need a bit more fire if you're going to get it past deep mid-wicket.
113 for 4. Thane is on his way into the right-hander. Taylor strikes him on the pads. They come through for the leg bye, which is about to be signalled by the umpire. Big appeal from Cox and Thane. Didn't get too much interest from the rest of the field. 114 for 4.
It looked very close from this angle, but as I say, we're at an off angle, and he's bowled it from wide of the crease. Doesn't look a bad shout, but maybe just drifting down the leg side on the angle. But well bowled again, giving Jack Taylor very little room or length to get underneath it.
Thane's on his way into the left-handed Charlesworth, who back past Noah Thane's outstretched arm for 4. Well, he hit that back with some venom, did Ben Charlesworth. It's past the hand of Noah Thane. He was looking for the catch, and Gloucestershire get 4.
It's just a bit full, that one, and whilst Charlesworth didn't get a huge amount of elevation on it, good grief, that's been hit hard, and I think Noah Thane is probably staring down at his fingertips, thanking his lucky stars it didn't hit them.
Charlesworth has moved on to 18. Thane bowls to him. That's a wide ball, which Charlesworth was reaching for. Essex could really do with another wicket here just to continue to keep that squeeze on and stop this Charlesworth and Taylor partnership developing. 119 for 4.
Yeah, it's getting towards the stage where these two have built this partnership enough that they'll definitely be starting to think in terms of boundaries. So, as you say, if Essex can peg it back here, then they can make life easy for themselves at the death.
Thane bowls, Fuller delivery, which is just played into the offside by Charlesworth for a single, which he watches as he strolls to the other end, and then they all swap around for the right-left combination.
Ben Charlesworth makes the universal signal for off-cutter, which, to be honest, I think Jack Taylor probably would have known that anyway, but they all do it. There's always this hand signal between striker and non-striker.
Thane in the red and navy of Essex is in, and that one's driven through the offside, out to the man in the deep, Luke Benkenstein on the boundary, who does well to stop the ball and again just limit Gloucestershire to the single, which could have very easily passed the Essex fielder for 4.
Yeah, so 9 off this over. This feels like, so often when you get towards the back end of a T20, those first and last balls, if Thane can get out of this with just a single or a dot, be a decent over at this stage.
121 for 4 as he is in. That one is clipped by Charlesworth, not timed though. It will be fielded at mid-on for a single. And that's the end of Noah Thane's over. That's the end of the 14th, 122 for 4.
Is Mohamed Amir back on the field? Where's Amir? Is he out at deep square? I'm just wondering, because if... Oh, there he is. Yeah,
He's
loosening
doing
up.
some warm-up exercises.
Just thinking about how Essex were likely to try and navigate through the final 6, and 2 overs of Amir is an absolute given. And then, you know, do they risk bowling spin at the death? They didn't seem to want to bowl a 3rd consecutive over of Critchley, so went back to Thane. But whether they'll think, actually leg spin was working pretty well before then, do you risk it at the death? Or then you've, I guess, got to get the remaining overs out of the likes of Snater, Thane and Walter.
Snater's taken on a lot with the absence of Sam Cook. Snater has been getting through a hell of a lot of work for Essex in both County Championship and T20 Blast, and he's done it well. They open with spin of Simon Harmer, who's got 1 over left. Paul Walter's only bowled 1.
Here is his second. It's short, pulled away by Charlesworth on the bounce to deep square, and just a single. So 123 for 4. The current run rate is just a bit above 8.5. So they'll have to go at 10s to get 180 now, which, when they were going great guns at 58 for 1, even 80 for 2 towards the end of the 8th over with Ollie Price off to that good start, you'd have thought, I've been slightly disappointed with 180, but now they'll do fairly well to get there. Walter into Taylor, who pulls away. That made a clunky noise off the bat as well, and it's another 1 bounce out to the deep square fielder in mirror image with Jack Taylor, the right-hander, on strike. 124 for 4. Walter, as he does so often, banging it into the middle of the pitch using his height, and if there is just the occasional one that may stay down a bit, that can be very tricky from all of his height. Walter bowls a slower ball, pulled into the onside and straight out to deep mid-wicket, so only singles off this over, and the pressure maybe starting to build on these two a bit. Jack Taylor 18 from 20, and Ben Charlesworth 22 from 17. So both will be thinking about finding some regular boundaries here. There is now some batting to come with not much time, so you're feeling that pressure as well. Walter bowls a short ball. Good grief, he's Q-ended that, and it's on 2 bounces back to the bowler. And yet again, Jack Taylor stares in accusing fashion at the bottom of his bat.
Yeah, I'm not sure even Paul Walter was expecting that to come back to him. He almost went over as he tried to fetch the ball that had been played back ungainly by Taylor.
Well, every ball this over has been short. Walter in, bowls, and takes pace off that one, and it's driven to mid-off. Still a ball that was back of a length, and Taylor looked like he was foxed by the change of pace. So 4 runs off 5 balls this over. This is a cracking comeback over from Paul Walter, and the innings run rate drops below 8.5 at 126 for 4. Gloucestershire in need of a boundary. Here's Walter bowling to Charlesworth, slow into the pitch. It seemed rather to stick in the pitch as well, and Charlesworth just couldn't wait for it really. Drives it to extra cover and there's no run. So 126 for 4 with 5 overs to go as the floodlights kick in, and Essex will be really rather pleased with their work, particularly in the, well, actually more like second, even 2/3 of this innings now.
Yeah, just really that middle part of this innings, they've put the squeeze on, and that's good as well. Not just that we've seen the spin effective, Paul Walter coming back there and bowling really tight over from an Essex point of view is pleasing to see as well. Matt Critchley with some leg spin to get things moving again for Essex. He's bowled 2 overs, 0 for 12, so he's again been part of that pressure. Can he find a wicket as he is in, down on one knee as Taylor turning that one round the corner into the leg side. They want to come back for a second run. They manage it as the ball out of our view to our left was being fetched by Snater.
Pace off definitely, even from the seamers, is starting to look like the way to go on this surface, so I'd imagine be seeing a fair bit of that from Gloucestershire's bowlers.
Critchley is in, and that one is hooked into the leg side under the fielder who was on the boundary, and that's for 4 runs. Looked again, just that slow delivery which Taylor had time to play, and Gloucestershire are on to 132 for 4.
I mean, he'd still like to be hitting that ball in the air over the boundary ropes, Jack Taylor, but he's contenting himself with just doing enough to find the gap.
In comes Critchley, and again that's walloped into the leg side into a similar place, and it won't be stopped on the boundary. Oh, that looked a bit painful actually, as there was a slide in from Noah Thane out there trying to save the 4 runs. Doesn't manage to do so, so successive boundaries, but just ekes things up again for Gloucestershire. 136 for 4, having recovered from being 87 for 4 at the end of the 9th over. Critchley is in, and that one is bottom edged back to the bowler for no run.
Every ball this over pretty much is halfway down from Matt Critchley, which again, maybe, I don't know whether it's quite so deliberate as to bowl that short, but it shows you that he does not want to go full to Jack Taylor for fear of being launched straight. He wants to be hit square.
In comes the Essex bowler, and that's through to Cox. No idea how that one missed, but the Essex wicketkeeper holds on to the ball.
It's a bottom corner of the bat from Jack Taylor into the ground and somehow misses leg stump. Seen a few inside edges in this innings.
Critchley is in, oh, and that's over the hands of Jordan Cox, or did it bounce out? It's gone for 4.
Past, I think, just enough bat on that from Jack Taylor, who's hit 3 boundaries in that over, but none of them really his absolute most authoritative. He did well to find the gap with the previous 2, but that one's just well, it's a slight slice of luck, although it has to be said, towards the end of an innings, when you do bowl it short and wide, the batter is going to be throwing his hands at it, and quite often that will happen. So that's just, I guess, sometimes the price you'll pay for presenting width. So a better over for Gloucestershire, and the gamble in terms of bringing leg spin back, well, I mean, it wasn't a disaster over. It was a better over for Gloucestershire. It wasn't an absolute disaster over for Essex, but now they're going with leg spin as well from the Sir Alistair Cook end, with Luke Benkenstein back into the attack. 2 overs, 1 for 14, his figures read, and they'll continue to read that because it's cut away by Charlesworth straight to backward point, and there's no run. Every dot ball so valuable at this stage. Amir warming up, you'd imagine he'll have the 2 overs that remain from the Gooch end, as this is driven hard down to long off. 1 bounce and picked up well by Michael Pepper. Another fizzing flat hit from Ben Charlesworth, but Gloucestershire not really finding the elevation that they'd like to find at this back end. 4 sixes in the innings, but 3 of them came, I think, in the power play.
It's been a steady partnership, though, between Taylor and Charlesworth.
141 for 4. Jack Taylor just retaking his guard, taking his time, making Benkenstein wait for a bit. He's in and bowls, and this is blasted straight back at the bowler, and there's no run. Yet again, it's the toe end of Jack Taylor's bat. And he just can't scoop underneath the ball. Benkenstein bowls, he'll get underneath that one though. That's a mighty 6. Over long on, it crashes off the written press area to our left, and that was not too far of a repeat of Bancroft on this ground last year.
Poor match referee Peter Such had to duck from that one because the windows are open next door. I think he was very lucky it's bounced off a ledge or something.
I was fearing as soon as I saw that ball on that length. Benkenstein bowls, this is coming our way, it might be over us. It's going to be over us, and down towards the river, back-to-back 6s for Jack Taylor. Well.
Rather ruined what had started off as a really tight over from Luke Benkenstein.
Yeah, I think it may have hit the roof, but it was wide of us here. Oh no, it's smashed. That's the previous one. Smashed the window. Jack Taylor will be billed for that.
Yeah, so Peter Such was right to dive because that has smashed the window of the match referee's office.
Wow. Well, Gloucestershire have been quite destructive as far as 6s so far this year. In the championship match, Zaman Akhtar whacked a 6 into the car of the PA announcer Ian Randall. Thankfully no damage, I think, done, but some damage has certainly been done to a window away to our left. 153 for 4.
Jack Taylor's moved on to 45. We've just had a stoppage for another new ball because I think that one's floating down the River Cam.
Here's Benkenstein, drags it short, it's cut away hard, through extra cover for 4. It's going to beat the fielder at deep cover, so an over that started wonderfully well from an Essex point of view with 1 run from the first 3 balls, finishes 6-6-4. And Jack Taylor, as he does from this position at number 5, which has been such a good move for him, one of the keys to the success that Gloucestershire enjoyed last year, is just that ability for him to work his way up, build an innings, and he's on to 49 from 32 balls when only a few seconds ago he was going at actually under a run a ball.
That might even actually be the scorer's box that's here. Just trying to work out which window that is that Jack Taylor will be billed for. 157 for 4 then, with 3 overs to go. Jack Taylor's on 49. Ben Charlesworth will be on strike. He's on 23, and it will be Mohammed Amir, 1 for 16. His figures from the 2 overs that he's bowled so far. Graham Goochend is where he will bowl this 18th over from. In comes Amir, and that one is just gently placed for 4 into the offside. He was just allowed to roll off the bat of Ben Charlesworth, which is lifted high to reach the delivery. Gloucestershire move on to 161 for 4.
Such a hard ground to defend, really, because I think that's pretty much the delivery Mohammed Amir wanted to bowl. He wanted to whack it into the pitch, bowl it short. He's got long off, up, maybe a bit straighter, but he knows the longer boundary is over to that side, and Charlesworth with a well-crafted shot, because he might almost have had too much time to line that one up.
He's on 27. Amir is in, and he's stepping to his side is Charlesworth, looking for a fine boundary on that occasion. He'll find a man out on the deep. I think it's Paul Walter out to my left-hand side. Just the single, 162 for 4.
There's a vague sense of the crowd not quite sort of scenting blood, but as soon as Essex make even the very slightest of mistakes, there's that general sort of groan as short third actually went the wrong way, thinking that Charlesworth was going to try and reverse ramp it. I think it would still have been 1 anyway, but there's just a general sense of slight unease amongst the Essex supporters.
162 for 4. So Jack Taylor, who's on 49, the Gloucestershire captain, will face the next ball from Amir, who bowls, and that one is through to the keeper Cox for no run.
Yeah, good call from umpire Watts. It was angled across, and so often with the left armour bowling wide outside off stump, the umpire could get a bit twitchy with the angle and think that a ball was a wide when actually when it passed the batter it was inside the guidelines. So there's a dot ball, all helps from an Essex perspective.
Amir is in over the wicket. That one's driven to long on for a single, which will be Jack Taylor's 50. It's come from 34 deliveries. And he has scored 4 fours and 3 sixes.
Second half century of the season for Jack Taylor. He had 3 last year as well, and that's his 7th overall. So that really does make the point, I think, in the best way of how effective his move just a couple of spots up the order has been.
Yeah, and there's been some good starts in this Gloucestershire innings, but he's the one to go on and make some kind of score. As Amir is in, that's a good stop by short third. Paul Walter getting down to that delivery. Ben Charlesworth just trying to feather it along the ground behind and just gets a single, 164 for 4.
It's a good job it was Walter there for Essex, because I think anybody else wouldn't have had the reach to have got that. It made quite a loud noise off Charlesworth's bat, considering it obviously wasn't out of the middle. Nearly threatened to be another one that squeaked away for 4, so another important last ball coming.
Amir is in, and that one is a wide. Umpire thought about it, and he's given it.
That is exactly, I think, what I'm talking about, where because it's left arm over rather than right arm over, it just makes it look worse than it was. I did have a chance just to look to my right in time, and I think Mohammed Amir might well have a case there for being less than gruntled, because the calls are huge at that stage. It's 1 run, but it's also an extra ball,
which he's just about to bowl. The Essex overseas, and that one is caught. He's edged it and caught, so the extra ball provides a 5th wicket for Essex, caught by Dean Olgar off the bowling of Mohammed Amir. Jack Taylor is the man to go, 165 for 5.
Oh, it's just absolutely whacked his right pad as he's walked off there, Jack Taylor, because he's thinking that that's width. It was a length ball outside off stump as well, and a ball that Jack Taylor would probably fancy getting hold of most times, but that's also what can happen with an extra ball. And Mohammed Amir, as he took his cap from umpire Watts, I think just gave him a little sideways nod and probably said thank you in the end. Yeah, I mean, it was a ball that was there for the shot that Jack Taylor had selected, trying to go over extra cover, but we've seen a lot of edges, whether it be inside or outside edges, and even in the 18th over there, whether it's, well, it could be a couple of things. It could be Gloucestershire adjusting back to T20, having had a couple of championship matches. Could be that there is something in the pitch, or it could be that there's just something that they haven't quite read from it, but that's the reason that they're surely going to fall well short of 200. The question is whether they can have a big last couple of overs and maybe try and get themselves to about 190. Graham van Buren is the new batter, but he's not on strike because Walter is running into Ben Charlesworth, who tries to pick that one up into the leg side, is struck on the pad going down leg side, but Walter will sprint to the ball and ensure there's no run.
A partnership of 78, by the way, so it's been really useful for the Gloucestershire innings, because when Jack Taylor and Ben Charlesworth came together, Gloucestershire were 87 for 4, so they've certainly been able to elevate that score as we approach the final stages of this Gloucestershire innings.
Yeah, I mean, there was a real danger when they came together that whilst the run rate was very good, Gloucestershire were going to start to run out of batters. They haven't done that. As Walter bowls to Charlesworth, a short ball, he's copped hold of that one over square leg, and that's onto the roof of the stand over there at square leg. 6 runs to Ben Charlesworth, and eventually he's cottoned on to what Paul Walter's doing, bowling it slow into the pitch, just waited for it a fraction longer and able to use those levers to send it over the rope.
So that means we'll need another new ball. The Essex subs have been very busy. Robin Dass and Mackenzie Jones on duty have been busy with the case of balls to offer the umpire the choice of what we need to continue with.
They must get through so many here, because it is the regulation, isn't it, that if the ball's hit out of the ground, it has to be changed. But it's not a massive hit out of the ground over that leg side, even though it's the slightly longer side. 171 for 5. Walter bowls to Charlesworth, who muscles it straight down the ground, but long on will get there. Van Buren's thinking about 2. He's going to come back for 2 as well, and that's excellent running from Graham Van Buren. I'm not sure if there was a slight fumble from Simon Harmer or whether there was just enough ground to make up as he was a bit wider there, but either way, Van Buren was alert to the possibility of 2, and he'll want Charlesworth on strike as much as possible in these last 9 deliveries, being the set batter. And for Ben Charlesworth, a really important innings for him. 37 from 26 balls. Walter bowls down the pitch and almost yorking himself really as Charlesworth as he squeezes it down to long on. It's just a single.
Yeah, really important battle then in the final 2 balls of this Paul Walter over, and then the final over as well. The battle between Essex just trying to squeeze this run rate, and the Gloucestershire batters looking for those boundaries, but even when they can't find the boundaries, just eking out those extra runs like we saw on that previous delivery where they pushed hard for the 2.
And Graham Van Buren is going to take strike for the first time. Absolutely no time to play himself in. Walter to Van Buren, who winds up, edges it, and is caught at short third. So Van Buren wasting no time in trying to launch Paul Walter, but it's another outside edge. How many have we seen? And a diving catch by Mohamed Amir means it is 174 for 6 with 1 ball left and the penultimate over.
Yeah, reverse of the wicket of Miles Hammond, which was caught by Paul Walter off the bowling of Mohamed Amir. Now we see the switch where Mohamed Amir helps out his mate Paul Walter to pick up his first wicket of the game, and I think that will give Essex a lot of confidence that they have managed to pick up these wickets and hold on to those catches in the field as well.
Now, Matt Taylor has come out to the middle ahead of Marchant de Lange, which I'm quite surprised by, I've got to say. I don't know if is this they don't want Marchant de Lange swinging too hard.
Are they
I'm
trying
not
to
sure what it
protect
is.
him?
It's curious because with de Lange in the side, you'd be thinking if you wanted somebody to hit their first ball for 6, you'd probably be backing de Lange, but maybe it's a practice thing as well, I don't know. Maybe he's not been able to do a huge amount of range hitting and has been focusing on his bowling. Anyway, Matt Taylor might hit his first ball for 4 or 6 and it'll be a moot point, but he's only got 1 ball to face this over. Walter bowls it is a short ball, it's pulled out and completely missed, and that is the end of the over. So only 9 runs off that one, and 190 is going to take a huge last over now at 174 for 6. And I think Essex will be probably marginally the happier of the 2 sides at the halfway stage, unless this is an absolute monster last over. But they were staring at 200, and it looks to be a lot less than that.
Yeah, interesting to see what Essex can limit Gloucestershire here to. Remember when they were at Lords against Middlesex a couple of weeks ago, they managed to limit the hosts to 161 and ended up losing by a run in a game which they really should have won, as Mohamed Amir begins a new over from the Graham Gooch end. He's into Charlesworth, who clubs that into the leg side, picks out the gap and finds 4 runs to add to the total, 178 for 6.
Well, if Charlesworth can do another one of his 32 off 5 balls, I think Gloucestershire would certainly take that, but asking for him to do that again is, well, quite steep, but a 4 to start the over might just settle Charlesworth down a bit if he needed settling, because, say, just that first ball of the over takes a little bit of pressure off finding the boundary.
Charlesworth's on 42 as he square drives that one straight to a fielder and decides not to take the run.
Did wonder whether they might elect to turn down the run, and again I think having got the boundary off the first ball, it makes it maybe an easier decision to do that, and you know, you can make the decision very much worthwhile if you hit the next one for 4.
Mohamed Amir running in, shorter delivery, which is out into the offside. They'll just take the single. They wanted to. It wasn't the opportunity when Charlie Allison was quick to the ball, 179 for 6.
There's so few twos available, really. The speed of the outfield, if it's in a gap, it's mostly 4. Really only a couple of pockets to access for twos. Now, a bit of a chat between Matt Taylor and Ben Charlesworth, and I'm guessing the chat might be, are we running through for the bye if it's missed? Suggest it might be an idea. Try and risk getting Charlesworth back on strike.
Amir is in, and that one is up in the air from Taylor. That should be an easy catch for Essex. It is. Matt Critchley getting under it. It was just lofted high into the air from Taylor. No kind of distance on it. Interesting celebration from Matt Critchley. He does a little disco dance as Essex pick up their 7th wicket, 179 for 7 with 2 balls remaining.
I'm afraid the worst of all worlds there from Matt Taylor. Not only does he not get Ben Charlesworth on strike, but also no runs scored. And David Payne comes to the middle, who admittedly did hit his last ball that he faced in the blast for 6. So let's see whether he comes out with the same anger that he did in that game. He said he was, I mean, as much as he can ever be, because he's one of the contenders for nicest man in cricket, David Payne. But he said he was a little bit annoyed that the batters had left it up to him to finish it off. So he used that to channel his frustration to hit the 6 to win the game off the last ball when he only needed a single. But here, 2 balls to try and lift Gloucestershire into the 180s.
A 3rd wicket then for Mohamed Amir, 3 for 29, his figures. He's in over the wicket, and there's a waft from Payne, who decides to run. Oh, and then there's a fumble as Jordan Cox was looking to get the ball back to Amir and try and run Payne out. They managed to scramble through. Essex not quick enough with the ball, 180 on the board.
Yeah, the whole thing was a bit scrambled, really, because I mean, it's hard to blame David Payne. First ball coming in, he gets a bouncer, but Cox, if that was an attempt at the stumps at the striker's end, that missed by miles.
I don't think it was,
no.
because Charlesworth was already so far down the pitch, determined to get the run, as he gets hold of that delivery from Mohamed Amir, and it will beat the fielder in the deep and go for 4. He was determined to get that one away, was Ben Charlesworth, to meet it as it came towards him. They get 4 from the final delivery of the Gloucestershire innings. They're 184 for 7, and Essex need 185 to win this one at Chelmsford.
Well, his runs on the board, I don't think it's quite as many as Gloucestershire would have hoped for, but it's one of those innings, isn't it, where it's gone backwards and forwards. Essex might rue a few of the deliveries that they bowled up front, and then it was a bit of a gamble, especially after seeing Critchley go for a couple of boundaries. They then brought Benkenstein on for that over from the Sir Alistair Cook end, and that finishing 6-6-4 is really the only reason Gloucestershire even got to 180. But yeah, I think Essex will feel that they've pulled it back. I think Gloucestershire will also feel that they've maybe pulled it back from when they were 87 for 4, and that Jack Taylor-Ben Charlesworth partnership really the mainstay of their innings. And as I alluded to, really, particularly for Ben Charlesworth, I think that's a really important knock. Even if Gloucestershire do go on to lose this game, at least in terms of the rest of the competition, it gives Ben Charlesworth something to take forward, because it's a pretty tricky life sometimes, as I mentioned, being at 6, where you're not actually facing a huge number of deliveries and you've got to come out and hit it from ball 1. And today it's been Graham van Buren who was unfortunately handed that responsibility of coming out and trying to hit a boundary from ball 1, and he was out first ball. But yeah, Jack Taylor and Ben Charlesworth's innings, 50 and 47 not out, really the mainstays.
The standout bowling for Essex then, Mohamed Amir picking up 3 of the wickets for 33 runs from the 4 overs that he bowled. A wicket apiece for Shane Snater, 1 for 18, Paul Walter 1 for 21, and Luke Benkenstein 1 for 31. Nice cameo appearances, tight bowling for the most part from Matt Critchley, 0 for 26. No wickets for Simon Harmer either, who went for 32, and Noah Thane just 0 for 21 from the 2 that he bowled. We'll be back with the Essex chase, resuming around about 8:30, and we will take you through it. Victoria Polly and Ed Seaborn here with you on the BBC Sport website and app. Welcome back to Chelmsford. T20 blast action between Essex and Gloucestershire. Gloucestershire, who were put into bat by Essex this evening, made 185. Therefore, Essex require 185 to win their first match of the T20 blast this season. It's Victoria Polly from BBC Essex with you.
And Ed Seaborn from BBC Radio Bristol and BBC Radio Gloucestershire.
As you didn't get to do your introduction earlier, I thought I'd let you.
Is that what it was? I thought you were just putting me on the spot.
I just forgot your name.
No.
I'm joking.
Right, David Payne from the Graham Gooch end, and no surprise that David Payne is bowling the first over. You probably could have been blindfolded and still called that it would be David Payne running in for the first over.
And it's Michael Pepper to take strike for the first ball and Dean Elgar up the other end. This is the reshuffled opening partnership for Essex in this campaign.
Here comes Payne then, bowling over the wicket to Pepper, and guess what? There's an inside edge immediately. Back onto his pad and out into the offside, where Marchant de Lange seemed absolutely desperate to be the one to field the first ball. They're not going to be able to keep him quiet out there,
He was
having been kept in the hutch with the bat.
He was looking lively in the warm-up, wasn't he, between innings?
Yeah, I was wondering if he might be slightly bowling within himself. No, certainly didn't look like it. Payne bowls, driven by Pepper towards mid-off. They thought about one, but then they saw the world record holder at mid-off in Miles Hammond, and there's no run as he slides across. 5 catches in the last T20 game that Gloucestershire played in. Nobody's ever taken 6 in an innings in T20 cricket worldwide. I think he's one of 14 people who've done it in the world. Payne bowls, ramp shot, beautifully played. One bounce over the rope for 4, and there's Michael Pepper. He's not just going to sit about and play conventionally, with David Payne getting some swing early on, as he usually does. So often there's a bit of the need to go for something different to combat that, and the ramp is quite often what's chosen.
That's a classic Michael Pepper shot there, and whatever the situation, you'll always find him playing in that positive and aggressive style, looking to get runs on the board.
4 for no wicket. Payne bowls, Pepper down the pitch, slapping the ball to mid-on. There was an awful lot of might and intent about that shot, but it was rather clothed in the end to mid-on, and again was something we saw quite a bit in the first innings, really. It almost seemed as though the harder batters tried to hit the ball, the more likely it was that they would either find an inside edge or not middle it. Ollie Price at first slip, fielders back at deep square and deep backward point. Deep square will be called into action here, tucked into the onside, thinking about 2, but not for too long, as Elgar will just be given the 1 ball of this opening over to face, as Essex are 5 without loss, chasing 185, and Gloucestershire, if they feel as though they're a little bit under par, maybe they don't, maybe they're quite happy with this score from the feedback from the batters, but especially if they feel that they're under par, they dearly love to remove a couple of these danger men at the top in the likes of Elgar, Pepper, Cox, Walter. Might make their life a little bit easier and start to build that run rate in the same way that, or run rate required I should say, in the same way that Essex did in the first innings. Payne bowls to Elgar, who dabs it into the offside. They'll sprint a single. Elgar just basically looking to get off the mark, and not much more there, so he'll have the strike. Typically tight first over from David Payne, with only 6 runs coming from it, and Josh Shaw, it looks as if he's had a trim, is going to
Not between innings.
bowl from, no, I don't think so. That would be quite something, unless there was a promotion on around the ground, something like that. I think it was Somerset a few years ago who had a shaving company who were one of their sponsors, so you know, you never rule anything out at the cricket when we've just seen 2 people dressed as burritos do a race,
Well,
back and
quite.
forth and doing press-ups.
It's T20 cricket for you. Right, in comes Shaw, then number 5 on the back of his yellow strip. He's into Elgar, who's turned into the leg side. Not sure what that came off. Was that the glove, or he just took the hand off the top of the bat as they came through for the single, 7 without loss.
Yeah, I wasn't sure when it came off either. It looked quite paddy, but maybe it was just the glove in front of it. Either way, there certainly wasn't much on it. And Josh Shaw, having seen how well mostly into the pitch worked, I don't think Shaw will need too much encouragement to bash it in on. I mean, he's not going to be bowling every ball short, but he does bowl what they do call nowadays a hard length.
Shaw's on his way in to Pepper, who defends that one, thinks about coming through for the quick single, but quickly across is just Shaw just to slide in and stop that ball, and it's a dot on the board.
Certainly going to need to be good in the field, Gloucestershire, and there will be some tricky bits of fielding, you know that, as with pretty much every ground at the moment, having had so much sunshine. The ball may not be rolling along a perfect carpet, so you have to watch the ball carefully.
Shaw bowls, and Pepper goes big, he goes high, and he gets 6.
Dear.
A big cheer from the crowd, it just drops over the boundary. He's cleared the field in the offside, and that's a 6 on the board for Michael Pepper and Essex.
That gentleman's had a nightmare, I'm afraid. He's leant over the advertising board, dropped the catch, and then leant over, and then his sunglasses have fallen off his head as well, so he's had to reach over and pick those up.
13 without loss for Essex. Pepper's on 11 as Shaw is in. Pepper's gone high, and he will be caught. He will. He was looking to clear the ring, but he hasn't got hold of that one, and having looked good with that 6 in the previous delivery, Essex lose a wicket in the second over, just as Gloucestershire did in their innings. Essex 13 for 1.
I just can't believe it. Is there something now that means that Miles Hammond is the only fielder who can take catches? He's gone to him again. So, I mean, this has got to be, in terms of inside 22 overs, I wonder if any fielder in the world has ever done that in T20 cricket. It's taken 6 catches in the space of not even 22 overs in a T20 match. But yeah, I mean, again, it's funny, we've seen a few like this where you sort of think, well, why didn't he middle that? Somebody like Michael Pepper, it looked full, it looked wide, it looked quite inviting. Maybe there was a little bit of swing on it that might have shaped it away from the middle of the bat, but there does seem to be something out there that is just causing a lot of balls not to be middled, and that is such a key scalp for Gloucestershire, because Michael Pepper, I mean, he's very close to the England setup, isn't he? I mean, he's right there in amongst the best white ball players in the country, so to remove him early is important. But out comes another one in Jordan Cox.
Yeah, so is this man Jordan Cox. Essex 13 for 1. Shaw is on his way in to Cox, full delivery, which is defended by the Essex man for no run. Jordan Cox, top of the averages for Essex in the T20 blast so far, 39.25. Remember, he hasn't played all of the games because he was away with the England Lions at the start of this competition, so playing his 5th match. And he's got a high score of 82 for Essex. That was in the game at Sussex, which ended up no result because of the rain that came in. As Shaw is in, and it was a waft there from Jordan Cox from the final ball of the over. So Essex have scored 7 from it, but they've lost the wicket of Michael Pepper for 11, and after 2 overs, Essex 13 for 1.
Swing again there for Josh Shaw, even at the back end of the second over, and that's certainly why Jordan Cox missed that one, coming down the pitch and Shaw bowling it wide and then swinging wider. So encouraging that for Gloucestershire, and given that fact, they may have given Payne a second over anyway, but Payne will be encouraged to see there's still swing out there as he's coming in and bowling. Elgar down the pitch, driving through backward point. Going to consider the second, but not particularly. It was more Elgar rather than Cox, and certainly the right call to stick with the 1. Essex 14 for 1. As at the moment, Elgar has basically just got off strike and is leaving it up to the, I suppose, more, I don't know, would you say more power type hitters in Pepper and Cox?
I guess you could say that, but Dean Elgar, two half centuries so far in this T20 blast. He knows how to hit them.
Payne in. This is tucked away to mid-wicket, timed well, and I don't think Hammond's going to get there. He's not. There's a huge gap out there on the leg side as there's a mid-on in Hammond, and then the sweeper out there is at deep square. So really, there's no cutting off a ball that just drifts onto the pads. And Payne, he does get a lot of his wickets that way as well, but they may have to think about a field change if that happens again. 18 for 1, so Cox off the mark with a boundary. Bowls wider this time, driven into the ground and stopped by Ollie Price at extra cover, so there's no run. And just on Josh Shaw, his return to the side has been another one of the reasons why Gloucestershire have seen a bit of an uptick in the last couple of games. 2 for 19 and 2 for 30, his figures in the 2 games that he's played so far, and it's just reuniting that trio that did the damage at the back end of last year. Payne bowls, and a waft and a miss from Jordan Cox. Some extra bounce there, I think, that just seemed to hop over the top of Cox's attempted drive, because we'll have another look here, but yeah, he's come forward to that. He's come forward to that, and it's bounced just enough to go over the top of his outside edge. We could have seen another edge there. Payne into Cox, a wide ball cut away firmly. There's protection out there, but not right there. There's a fielder at a very backward point on the boundary in Darcy Short, and Cox hits it in front of that fielder. Second boundary in the over.
Yeah, good there from Jordan Cox. Bit worrying to see him wafting at them, because Essex would really need someone like him to stick around. They've had points during this campaign where players have got starts, players like Jordan Cox. I mean, I mentioned the 82 that he got, but there have been other occasions, like at Middlesex, where Cox and Walter were building a good partnership, but then Essex lose them, and then they struggle to make up the runs and the chase.
Last ball of over number 3, Payne bowls, slower ball, chipped away and well short in the end of Matt Taylor at short fine leg. But I think that, when Payne comes back, is going to be the ball that he's going to use, actually more so than his seam up delivery, because we saw Paul Walter do it, especially shorter and slower. Seems to be working quite well, and Cox quite a way out in front of that one. Does still take a single though and keep the strike, and after 3 overs, 23 for 1, so still pretty much in the balance really, this game.
Yeah, interesting. 23 for 1, halfway through the power play. Josh Shaw, who's taken the wicket for Gloucestershire, is in. Full of delivery, which is clipped into the leg side, and it's racing away to the boundary. It looked like Jack Taylor may well get there for Gloucestershire. It was in hot pursuit as it went underneath us away to the right by the Tom Pearce stand, but Essex pick up 4.
Wow, he's barely hit that really, as Cox. I mean, it's just a work, and as soon as it gets wide of mid-on, I mean, Jack Taylor was pretty much at the same pace of the ball the entire way, but the ball never lost any pace at all.
Shaw is in, and that was driven back to the bowler by Cox, who gets a hand to it and prevents Essex being able to take the single.
Matt Taylor loosening at short fine, so they've gone with 2 each up front with Payne and Shaw, so I would imagine Matt Taylor and Marchant de Lange will have 1 each at the end of the power play. They tend to use 3 in the power play or any bowler unless they need wickets.
In he comes, full of delivery from the bowler, who manages to direct it onto the umpire. There's quite some pace on it. That one looked painful, as not only does the bowler Jack Shaw get something on it, he then manages to hit the umpire with the deflection as well. Ouch.
I mean, that was blistered back at Shaw. It was a full toss that kind of deserved the treatment really, and I'm not actually sure if it was almost hand or wrist that Shaw got on it, but it certainly doesn't count as a chance.
Shaw comes in again, and that was lofted back over the bowler, and lofted for 6 runs from Jordan Cox. He goes hard, he goes long, he gets hold of that one. Essex 33 for 1.
Just a bit too full from Josh Shaw a couple of times in this over, and he's been punished for that. It was a slower ball, I think, as well, but it was the length that really did Josh Shaw in, so will Jordan Cox just be hanging on the back foot now, expecting the length to be dragged back.
He's on 18 as Shaw is in. That's over the offside field inside the ring, picked up in the deep for a single.
He didn't bang it in short, Josh Shaw, but so often it's just, you know, you're talking a few inches, and that can be the difference between it being on that length where the batters can just swing through the line and where there's just enough uncertainty about what it's going to do. But Cox has pretty much done his job off the over and taken all the pressure off Elgar, albeit he's barely faced a delivery.
Yeah, Cox at the non-strikers end on 19 as Shaw will bowl to Elgar, who's down on one knee, having a swipe at that one, misses it through to the keeper for no run. Essex 34 for 1 from 4 overs. And
that can be the problem. I don't think there was really any need for Elgar to do that, but because he'd only faced 3 balls in the first, 23, he felt as if he needed a boundary, but actually they probably got what they needed off that over. So Matt Taylor replaces David Payne as the sun sets Chelmsford and the floodlights very much now in effect. Sort of already got through what can be that slightly tricky twilight period sometimes. Sun going behind a few clouds as well, helping out. As Taylor, left arm over, comes in to Cox, who winds up for a big one and misses it, and that time it looked as if it didn't quite bounce as much as Jordan Cox thought. So, I mean, again, you sort of wait a few overs into the second innings, you see both sides bat on a pitch and sort of coming to the assessment that actually there is something, and actually I quite like it, there's something in this for the batters and there's something in it for the bowlers. Taylor in, a shorter ball is pulled at and missed, and it must have just flicked a bit of pad. Not out, says umpire Watts, and Jordan Cox is saying, didn't you give that a wide because it hit my pad, or is it because I moved across? Well, I don't know. Not sure, can't tell from the replay, but either way it's been signalled. Well, not signalled, in fact. No signal from umpire Watts. Taylor into Cox, who picks this one up leg side, high and handsome, and we're going to need a new ball again. It's off the balcony of the second floor of that house up there and ricochets down. I think that might be our third new ball of the game.
That was big from Jordan Cox. He'd been winding up, hadn't he, for the couple of deliveries before, and I think there might be a few invoices for some of these players this evening.
Actually, I didn't realise it bounced down into the stand, so technically it left the ground and then came back into it, so I don't know what the regulation is for that. It's 40 for 1, and Jordan Cox looking pretty ominous from a Gloucestershire perspective, 25 off 15 balls. Matt Taylor into Cox, who pulls it high in the air. Fielder running back, it's Jack Taylor, and he juggles it, but he takes it. Oh, wow, heart in mouth moment there, but it's caught Taylor, bowled Taylor, and after having just hit a 6, Jordan Cox trying to clear the boundary again, but it was bashed into the pitch, and Matt Taylor gets the wicket that he really wanted. Cox gone for 25, Essex 40 for 2 in the 5th.
He looked good. He looked like he could go on to make a big score here, as Jordan Cox so often does. He has been really useful for Essex, but it's again one of those starts that he's made and then all it takes is a mistimed shot. You don't get enough on it and it becomes, well, easy work for the fielder, although Jack Taylor did have to catch that one at the second attempt on the run. But yeah, that's really disappointing for Essex because Jordan Cox looked in the mood there to go on and hit big, which is what they need, chasing 185 to win.
I don't know if it was Ollie Price coming in that maybe just at the last moment, because he looked as if he judged it perfectly, Jack Taylor. We did judge it perfectly, but whether it was just at the last moment he caught sight of Ollie Price coming in. But anyway, all was well that ended well as far as that catch for Gloucestershire as Matt Taylor is into the new batter, Paul Walter, who drives to mid-off. There'll be a sliding stop there from Miles Hammond, who might have been thinking about effecting something spectacular as far as a run out, but couldn't collect the ball cleanly. And to be honest, even the prowess of Hammond in the field, I think, would have struggled to even get a particularly powerful throw off from that position. So Walter's underway straight away, and Dean Elgar is on strike to the last ball of the over again. It's just one of those evenings for him. Matt Taylor into Elgar, who swings and misses back of a length, and was quite tight to him to really free the arms. And again, pretty much all that could have been done there was maybe get a little outside edge on it. So an over that started well with a 6 relatively early on it from Cox has ended in a really decent one from the Gloucestershire point of view. 7 runs off it, but crucially they've seen the back of the extremely dangerous Jordan Cox, and Gloucestershire are going to David Payne for the 3rd over of the power play. So an aggressive move from captain Jack Taylor.
Yes, so you'll have a 3rd over in the final over of the power play for Essex, 41 for 2. They'll be looking to get some more runs on the board in this first 6 of their innings. 2 left-handers at the crease for Essex as Payne is in to Walter. He's lofted that one safe and it will bounce in the deep. They will just get 2 runs for it, but they're just trying to eke out the runs that they can in this first 6.
Paul Walter, plenty of big bash experience, and David Payne also went out to the Emirates last year during the winter for that league there, but he's gone back to the side that he won the Big Bash with, the Perth Scorchers, so good to see from his point of view.
He's in over the wicket, and that all tucks up Paul Walter, comes off the bottom edge of the bat. He's lucky he didn't manage to play on that occasion, dot ball.
3 winters ago, David Payne winning that title with the Scorchers, and he, I assume, because of that, wears the orange on his boots. Whether it was that or a message to the Perth Scorchers to pick him in the Big Bash draft, I don't know, but either way it certainly worked.
Now Payne in the black bottoms with the yellow stripe and the yellow top with the black writing on the Gloucestershire colours. Turns on his mark and he's on his way in. Bowls, that's driven by Walter, not timed. Plays it to mid-off for no run. So things just slowing down for Essex, having lost 2 wickets in the power play. That of Michael Pepper, who went for 11, and Jordan Cox, who was caught by Taylor off the bowling of the previous delivery. And I realise I haven't filled in my score sheet.
Very untidy.
Dear me. As Payne is in, there's a shuffle forward, a swing and a miss from Paul Walter, but the ball will be through the gloves of Bancroft and go for 4 byes.
Yeah, and we didn't really mention that Bancroft's still behind the stumps. They've elected to balance their side with having Bancroft back there, and James Bracey doesn't play, and every so often you just see those moments where you think, well, would James Bracey have stopped that? He left the gap through the wickets, and that's where the ball went.
47 for 2. Payne is in. It's a swing and a miss from Paul Walter.
And you always know you're going to get it next time, even if he's nowhere near the boundary. Bancroft watching that one very carefully. But so far, it's been a cheap over, but 3 wicketless overs of David Payne often a recipe for opposition success.
He's on his way in for the final ball of the power play to Paul Walter, who plays that one back over the bowler. It does drop safe. It wasn't a convincing shot from the Essex man, and at the end of the power play, Essex 47 for 2, and I think you'd probably say that Gloucestershire will be the slightly happier of the 2 sides.
Yeah, I think just about, because you've got 2 batters out there who are on, what, 3 each, and Pepper and Cox, if you were looking at 2 batters who could probably win this game the quickest, Dean Elgar could certainly still win it, but if you're looking at 2 batters who can win this game the quickest, you're looking at Pepper and Cox, I reckon. So to get rid of both of them, I think, because of who the wickets are, as much as the fact that there are 2 wickets and fewer than 50 runs, Gloucestershire will be pleased with where they are at the moment, but knowing that they can't afford to let a partnership build up here. They're going to Ollie Price, the off spinner with 2 left-handers out there. He's bowling to Elgar, who drives in the air. Not a particularly convincing shot, even though he was only ever really looking for a single down to long off. 48 for 2. And we continue to see batters struggle a bit with their timing out there. Walter to face. Is he going to decide to line up the spin of Ollie Price? He does. He sweeps it hard, but there's a fielder back there who doesn't field it. And away for 4 runs. Graham van Buren, the culprit at backward square. It was spinning, but it was a ball that kind of needed to be stopped, really. And the 50 comes up for Essex with that boundary. Just right underneath him, and maybe done a bit by the spin. Price bowls to Walter, who whips it down to long on and takes 1.
Couple of fortuitous boundaries for Essex, that by the 4 byes from the previous over, and then the misfield there for the 4 off the bowling of Price.
Elgar facing as Ollie Price is in. This is slapped back to him on the bounce. There's no run, just been passed a note. Elgar only faced 5 balls in the power play.
That's from David Jackman, our scorer in the back of the box.
That's got to be some sort of record, doesn't it? For somebody who was there at the start of a power play, only to face 5 balls. Price bowls, Elgar waits for that one and then works it to long on. Pretty much an agreed single there, really, with Darcy Short coming off the boundary. So 7 runs off the over. The required rate is basically 10 runs per over. So once again, we've reached one of those last deliveries, and Walter, who seems to have been the aggressor so far against Ollie Price, on strike for it. He pulls and squirts it towards mid-wicket. He was looking to try and clear the boundary for sure there, but again, not an enormous amount of bat on it, and still a pretty good over from Ollie Price with 8 runs coming from it, but 3 of those courtesy of a misfield, so could have been even better. And here we go. It's time for Marchant de Lange. His return. Had to wait a while into the 8th over now, but de Lange, who has been blighted by injury a bit over the last couple of years, he's returning now and hoping to have a big impact in the second half of the Blast campaign, and also, I'm sure, in the back part of the 4-day competition as well, as Gloucestershire look to try and push through a crowd for promotion.
Yes, so recovering from an ankle injury. First appearance in the T20 Blast this season. The South African will bowl from the Sir Alistair Cook end. Paul Walter on strike for Essex. Fuller delivery, which is stopped by the fingertips of the bowler, who makes a action as if he's going to shy at the stumps. Has a word with Dean Elgar.
I just love Marchant de Lange's attitude. He just looks so pleased to be back out there, and every day that he gets to play professional cricket he considers a blessing, which I think is a nice way of looking at it.
Over the wicket to Walter, who swings at that one through to Bancroft. Marchant de Lange was off in feigning celebration.
He looks like a kid that's been locked up in like a 5-hour car journey and is then been told that they can just go and run about the service station wherever they want for a while. He just looks as if he's just been let out.
55 for 2. De Lange is in, shorter delivery, which Walter was looking to pull.
Bancroft on his haunches there, thinking how close that was to just rising completely over my head. There is a green tinge to this pitch, and Marchant de Lange, Gloucestershire have clearly waited a little bit to get him back, and he's cranking up the gasometer.
Cranking up the pressure as he's into Walter, and that one is missed again by the Essex man, who watches it into the gloves of Bancroft. And Marchant de Lange is really putting the squeeze on these Essex runs now. 4 dot balls from this 8th over.
Yeah, bowling it mostly short, as you'd expect with De Lange, but with the left-handers there having to drag against the angle into the onside.
De Lange is in and bowls. Walter gets that one away and he'll get it away for 6. He had to be patient in this over. 4 dot balls he's faced where he's wanted to swing out and get Essex on the board. He's managed it on the 5th ball of the over with a 6, 61 for 2.
Yeah, good strike from Paul Walter, and that is the one thing that you do know at Marchant de Lange's pace. If you can time it, if you can get hold of it, then de Lange's pace is going to do most of the work for you.
Walter moves on to 15 from 15 deliveries. Essex 61 for 2. De Lange is in, and that's a fuller ball which is driven along the ground by Walter. Will find a man in the deep. They're going to come back for the 2 runs. Good running from the Essex pair. 8 off the over then, but they came off the 2 last deliveries of the 8, 63 for 2.
Yeah, so continuing at pretty much the same rate over the last few overs, Essex. There's not been a massive acceleration, but there's also not been a deceleration outside the power play. They're finding the odd boundary here or there and making Jack Taylor think about how he's going to use his bowlers. He's got a lot of options up his sleeve. Darcy Short with his left arm wrist spin. He has even bowled himself a little bit in this competition, Jack Taylor. Graham van Buren with his slow left armers. Ben Charlesworth is another seam option. Pretty much everybody can bowl in this Gloucestershire side. Ollie Price bowls, over extra cover goes Elgar. Fielder running in and takes a diving catch. It's Ben Charlesworth and Dean Elgar. That was a bit of a sorry stay at the crease. He's faced 9 balls in 8.1 overs, and it's just so hard to try and find any sort of rhythm when you're being starved of the strike like that. And he came down the pitch, first ball of that over, tried to go over extra cover, sliced it, and Essex 63 for 3.
Well, again, it's disappointment for Essex, like you say, for Dean Elgar. Having faced so little of the ball, he gets one that he tries to get hold of and can't do so, gets caught, and it just means that, again, Essex, having looked at a score that looked winnable, looked chaseable when you look down the order, and still very possible with the batting that is to come, but this is a side who haven't won yet in this competition, who lack some confidence, who need to get themselves out of the rhythm of being in these situations.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you hear Gloucestershire say it as well, it can become a bit of a habit. Ollie Price in now, and Luke Benkenstein's the new batter. Might get 2 first ball. No, it's quite a short throw there for Ben Charlesworth, being kept busy on that leg side boundary. Thought it might have just been weighted well enough, but it shows you how hard 2s are to come by, and Ben Charlesworth is very quick across the ground out there. So Benkenstein off the mark first ball, 64 for 3. A couple of balls into the 9th over, and Paul Walter becomes the key for both these sides now, as he flicks that one off his pads through mid-wicket and just trots through for another single. 65 for 3. So a right-hander out there now in Benkenstein. Wonder if that will see a change in terms of who Gloucestershire go to, but Ollie Price is doing a fine job so far. He bowls, and that's cut away in the air through extra cover. There's a substitute fielder on there in Zaman Akhtar, who fumbles the ball, and it won't quite go over the boundary, as Darcy Short is there to back him up from long off. 2 runs added, 67 for 3. Just looking around to see who's gone off. I don't think it is Marchant de Lange. I think he's down there at long on, miles away. Ollie Price bowls, that's heaved way up in the air, and that is going to clear long on very comfortably. Oh, it's going to clear the stand as well. Gosh, he's hit that high. Off the bat, I thought maybe he'd hit that straight up, but he's hit it way back over wide long on. 73 for 3 in Benkenstein. That is a very much statement of intent.
Yeah, it's very typical Luke Benkenstein coming in and giving it a go from the off, just looking to hit out, play aggressive cricket and try and get those runs on the board for Essex.
73 for 3. Price bowls to Benkenstein, who swings and misses as Price angles that one across. So a dot ball to end the over, but 10 runs off it. That's pretty much what Essex need from this point on. But another wicket for Gloucestershire. They've removed Dean Elgar, 5 off 9. But Benkenstein coming in, proving that he is a very dangerous customer, and Gloucestershire will certainly remember that, because it was last year, and I'm sorry to do this, Essex fans, when Essex had the opportunity to qualify in that last game at Southampton, and I think it was Benkenstein and Allison, wasn't it, who looked as though they were rescuing Essex and about to take Essex over the line improbably after they fell behind the rate, and the rest, as I say, was history.
March and De Lange to begin a new over from the Sir Alistair Cook end. Fuller delivery, which is driven by Paul Walter for 4 runs. He's pierced the gap in the offside there, has the left-hander, 77 for 3.
Sat there on his haunches for a good 15
it's very
seconds there, De Lange.
from March and De Lange, isn't it? Every ball he's on his stage, and every ball has an emotion, but that's good from Paul Walter, 22, which brings the run rate up for Essex, or rather the run rate required down, but boundary off the first delivery of the 10th over.
Yeah, and an intelligent option as well from Walter, very little risk involved in that.
It's going to come around the wicket to the left-handed Walter is De Lange, and that one's clubbed away into the leg side by Walter. It's hit with some pace. It will be picked up by long on for a single.
Immediately wafting his fielder to come up from what'll be long off with Benkenstein, but it looked as though Ollie Price was thinking he would stay on the boundary, but actually De Lange wants both his mid-off and mid-on up, so this is a field very much set for short pitch bowling. I think Benkenstein pretty much knows where this one's going to be.
The Essex youngster waits. De Lange bowls, shorter delivery, it's off the hip of Benkenstein, and they'll come through for the single, picked up at deep square leg for just that single, so Benkenstein on to 10, Essex 79 for 3.
The rate certainly by no means out of hand from Essex's perspective, and actually as long as they just keep scoring off pretty much every ball, they're in business.
De Lange is into Walter, that's up in the air, has he cleared the ropes? It's going to bounce, and it's bounced for 4. So the umpire just double checks that did bounce inside the boundary rope. It was just underneath us here in the River Stand, but Paul Walter with his second boundary of the over, Essex 83 for 3.
Was that a no ball call there? Yes.
I was wondering why it
was, and I think
85 for 3
he's
now.
saying that it was on the return crease, so he bowled it from too wide, basically.
De Lange is into Walter, who goes high with that one. That should be 6 from the tall Essex man. Big cheers from around Chelmsford as they watch Paul Walter clip that one into the leg side and move Essex on to 91 for 3.
Yeah, and really those last couple of deliveries are prime example. You just stay in it, and sometimes the opposition will just give you a gift, and that is a real gift. That is 12 runs off basically 1 ball, 4 plus 2 for the no ball, and then the free hit goes for 6 as well. And De Lange's return, which in the first over was looking excellent because his first 4 balls were dots, and then his next 6 deliveries, legitimate ones, have gone for 26.
There's a real conference going on between the Gloucestershire fielders as the search for the ball continues under the covers. It's disappeared under there somewhere. Sometimes that can be harder to find than if it's ended up in some kind of greenery behind the stands. But March and De Lange are in conversation with a couple of his teammates as the extra balls come out. Typically, the original ball has been found.
Always happens, doesn't it? So now Essex ahead of the game, really. Yeah, they've lost 3 wickets, so another wicket can very much change that, but they're ahead of the required rate now.
De Lange is into Walter, fuller ball, which Walter was looking to get away. It's just ended up dropping in front of him. Missed time there from the Essex man.
He talks to everybody. Marchant de Lange having a bit of a laugh and a smile with Luke Benkenstein, being the son of the former Gloucestershire coach. I'm sure they'd have got to know each other fairly well.
De Lange is in, that's driven by Walter for no run. He just sort of turns his head in frustration as he watches that one fall into the hands of the captain, Jack Taylor. So end of the over, looks healthier for Essex after that hitting from Paul Walter, bit of help from the no ball as well. 91 for 3 at the halfway stage in the chase of 185.
Yeah, that no ball really the criminal thing about that over from De Lange. They haven't bowled many at all in this competition, Gloucestershire, but again, that's something that, given the fact that he is coming back off injury, Seth, I'm pretty sure it was a back foot no ball from the umpire's signal. It's just one of those things that in terms of rhythm may be more likely to happen in your first game back rather than, you know, mid-competition. But Gloucestershire have certainly given themselves a bit of work to do now. Paul Walter now starting to find his range, and Benkenstein, having already clubbed that massive 6 over mid-wicket, has meant that they're going back to Matt Taylor, who got rid of Jordan Cox in the power play. He bowls now, and there's a swish and a miss from Benkenstein, who backed away very early there, cleared the front leg. I'm not quite sure he was looking to hit that, but he missed it completely. So once again, as a side just looks to be moving in front, we've seen a few dots and it just swings back. It's been a really good game of T20 cricket so far. Taylor, left arm round, bowling to Benkenstein, goes for the ramp and misses the ball. A good one-handed take from Bancroft down to his left, because he might have been thinking, I think it was the reverse ramp attempted, he might have been thinking I have to move to my right here, so it would have been easy for him to have been wrong-footed, but it's another dot delivery.
Yeah, Benkenstein just looking for the creative ways in which Essex can fashion some boundaries, but on this occasion, 2 dot balls.
Third up inside the circle. Taylor bowls a short ball, pulled in the air perfectly safely. One bounce out to Ben Charlesworth at deep backward square, and a single to the total. The other thing that does is Jack Taylor might have banked on getting 4 overs out of Marchant de Lange. He already knows he's going to have to get 4 overs out of some combination of all of those bowlers I mentioned a while ago, all those many bowlers. But now he might have to think he has to get some more overs out of them, and of course David Payne has only got 1 over left, which could be critical. Matt Taylor into Walter, who swats at that one, hits it along the ground to David Payne at deep square. And again, it is just the single. 92 runs from 56 balls, if you prefer it that way. So a good over from Matt Taylor. The required rate hasn't exactly climbed up massively, but might just feel that they'd like a boundary at the back end here, Essex, to stay ahead of proceedings. Taylor around the wicket, bowls to Benkenstein, who backs away and is dropped in the end by Josh Shaw at short third, but it was a goalkeeper style effort up and to his left from the big fast bowler. He did well to get 2 hands on it, but he couldn't cling on, and they come through for 1.
Yeah, real let-off there for Essex. We saw a lot of those kind of catches in the Gloucestershire innings, didn't we? But that was exactly what the word I was going to use to describe it. The goalkeeper way in which he reached to his left-hand side, almost tried to bring the ball down and ends up grounding it.
Taylor in, short ball, pulled away by Walter. That's in the gap, that's 4. Right between deep square and deep mid-wicket. Another boundary from Walter that is just calculated. It's not really much of a risk. It's not even calculated risk. It's just a calculated shot. And the last 3 boundaries that he's scored have all been like that. A drive between mid-off and extra cover. The free hit where there's no risk at all. He hit a short ball straight over mid-off. And again, as soon as you clear the infielder there, there's not too much risk, and they're also just pulled along the ground, and it spoils what would have been a fantastic over from Gloucestershire. It's a decent one, but again, Essex are still just scoring at pretty much the required rate.
Yeah, DLS is 100, Essex 98 for 3, so just behind, but they'll be much happier with how things look, having recovered from losing the wickets most recently of Dean Elgar. Pepper and Cox going earlier in the innings as Charlesworth bowls from the Sir Alistair Cook end, and that one could be coming straight for the arse, or is it going to be caught? No, Marchant de Langer is there. It looked as if it might clear the ropes from Luke Benkenstein. It looked big, but Marchant de Langer appeared from underneath the stand as it dropped inside the boundary rope. He kisses the ball as he takes the catch, and that's a 4th wicket down for Essex, 98 for 4.
Ever the showman, and he certainly made a bit of a show of that catch, because it looked as if he wasn't actually going in for it to start with, but I think, like you and I, he probably felt that it was going way over his head when it was hit, that it just seemed to die up there, and Benkenstein getting elevation but not enough distance. And I was about to say potentially a risk-reward move bringing Ben Charlesworth into the attack. He has taken a bit of tap at times in his T20 career, but his last game against Hampshire he bowled 2 overs 2 for 11, so he's claimed his 3rd wicket of the season and done it first ball as well. And Gloucestershire really needed that wicket. They could do with Walter because he's the really set batter, but they had to break that partnership because there was a chance that they could really start to open their shoulders and get that required rate down to something very manageable.
Well, it was the 5th wicket partnership that really did the damage for Gloucestershire. 78 put on between Taylor and this man bowling Ben Charlesworth. Matt Critchley to the crease for Essex. Charlesworth is in. Critchley comes down to meet that one, clips it into the leg side. Backward square leg does the fielding for a single, 99 for 4.
Yeah, Graham van Buren fielding there, and the slow left armer hasn't been called upon yet, but he may yet get his turn if Gloucestershire can see the back of Walter. I don't think they'll want to bowl the left arm spinner to the left-handed Paul Walter. Guess if they're going to go to spin, they might stick with the off spinner and Ollie Price.
Charlesworth is into Walter, who clips that one along the ground to a fielder on this occasion, though. He has been good at picking out the gaps with those deliveries. Single to his score, which brings up the Essex 100 in the 12th over.
And pace off again from Ben Charlesworth. He's not the quickest, but realising that even he might need to take some pace off here.
He's into Critchley, who's on one leg spinning to play that one, which is fielded on the boundary. Tumbling effort to keep that one inside the rope as they come back for 2 runs, 102 for 4.
Yeah, good work from Van Buren. Plenty of ground to make up there, and especially having made one mistake out there in front of the baying fans, you know that you're under pressure. We're getting
there's a problem
change
with the
of the ball. Yeah, interesting. I think presumably it was Gloucestershire that presented the ball to the umpire, saying it's not to our liking. And I mean, so you hear some people say, well, actually, if the ball's out of shape, do you not want to stick with it because it's harder for the batter to hit? But especially if you're trying to get hold of it and bowl slower balls, as Charlesworth might be, you definitely do want it round, and if there's something wrong with that seam, then you're definitely going to want it changed.
The umpires deliberated over which of the replacements should be brought out, and Matt Critchley has been wandering around in his crease waiting to continue proceedings as Charlesworth is in. That one's edged, it's safe by the Essex man, and he'll come through for just a single, but he has a look at the edge of his bat where that delivery came off. 103 for 4.
Again into the pitch, working quite well. I mean, we've seen actually most Gloucestershire batters, with the exception of Bancroft and Ollie Price, who came out all guns blazing. Pretty much everybody's needed a few deliveries just to get used to things. Paul Walter's certainly used to it now, you'd think.
Charlesworth is in. That's big from Paul Walter. Has he got enough on it to beat the fielder who's out there? It's a big delivery, and it's a big catch in the deep. Paul Walter was looking to hit that one for 6. He's been key to this Essex innings, but he will depart for 39. And Essex in trouble here, 103 for 5.
Ben Charlesworth won't want to leave Chelmsford after equalling a record fastest 50 for Gloucestershire 2 years ago. His second game at Chelmsford, he's ended up 47 not out with the bat. He's taken 2 for 5 in an over, and he's also taken a catch to get rid of Dean Elgar. He's having quite the game, and Miles Hammond might have been feeling left out because there were 3 consecutive catches that didn't go to him. That one did. And whilst he looked as if he might just be misjudging it at the last moment, because it was Miles Hammond, you still had that feeling, a bit like when Simon Harmer was underneath that really tricky one earlier on, that, okay, that might be a problem for some, but he's probably still going to take that, and he did, and that's just really what Gloucestershire maybe not needed, but certainly wanted, as the required rate is still not bad for Essex. 82 required from 8 overs is perfectly doable, but now they've got 2 new batters in, and because they are both right-handed, Gloucestershire are going to go to their 7th bowler in Graham van Buren, the slow left-armer, who has had a really good time of it in the Championship recently for Gloucestershire. Been doing a lot of bowling this year. This is only his 4th game of the campaign, as he bowls to Critchley, who defends the first ball. He's only bowled the 7 overs in the competition so far, just the 1 wicket, but his economy rate is just 6.7 and over. Van Buren in, a quicker delivery, and an appeal for LBW from Van Buren. There wasn't much from Bancroft, suggesting the ball was probably going down the leg side. Was that signalled leg by in the end? I didn't see.
Was,
yeah. So didn't hit it, but probably angling down leg. Van Buren is not likely to be giving the ball much of a rip in this format, likely to be mostly darts. 81 required from 46. Charlie Allison is the new batter, and he's underway straight away, going back and turning it down to long on. 80 required from 45. But that wicket allowing Gloucestershire to get through another one of those overs from their 4th and 5th bowlers. Van Buren bowls, and there's a half shout from Josh Shaw at short third, but this time it was the bowler who wasn't interested in an appeal. And yet again, they take a single that goes into the extras column. 106 for 5. So no boundaries off this over, only 1 off the bat in fact. Van Buren bowls full and wide, driven hard straight to extra cover. Jack Taylor fields on the edge of the circle, and there's no run. 79 required from 43, and the required rate builds up to 11 very quickly. Van Buren round the wicket, bowls, and an excellent Yorker. There's nothing that Charlie Allison can do with that one early on in his innings, and 3 in total from the over, but only 1 that goes to Van Buren's figures. So in the last 2 overs, Gloucestershire have taken, 2 for 8 runs.
Yeah, good bowling from the visitors here at Chelmsford, having had those 2 wickets fall in the previous over, have just really put the squeeze on the newish batters at the crease for Essex, Critchley and Allison, who'll be hoping that they can still form a partnership. 79 runs now to win from 42 remaining. That DLS has crept up to 123, so they just don't want this to get out of their reach with 7 overs of this one to go. Martin de Lange, 0 for 26 from the 2 overs that he has bowled, is going to bowl his 3rd from the Sir Alistair Cook end. He's into Matt Critchley, full delivery, clipped off the toes. The Essex all-rounder for a single.
Such as T20 cricket. Come on, bowl an over, take 2 wickets and go for 5 runs, and you're whipped out of the attack. But
you may well be needed down the innings.
Yeah, so they've got to get 2 more overs out of the rest, if you want to call them that. sure Matt Taylor and Payne have 5 between them.
De Lange is in with a shorter ball, which Allison just lets run off the face of the bat down to third for a single, because there is a man out in the deep.
And as you say, it may not be as simple as that. They may decide that they want to bowl Charlesworth later on, but it could be that Jack Taylor's thinking, OK, the golden arm worked, let's not push it.
Change of ends as well, always a possibility. 108 for 5 as De Lange is in. That's big from Critchley, that's 6 from Critchley. Got hold of that delivery from March and De Lange. An important boundary on the board for Essex. It's a 6. Essex 114 for 5.
Yeah, a good pick-up shot from Critchley. It was about hip height, that short ball. That's been... When the short ball's been got hold of, it's been there. It needs to be shorter than that, really, from De Lange needing to be heading more towards the chest to really trouble the batters. 6 when it was needed for Essex.
Critchley on 11, De Lange is in, Yorker length delivery, which is at least a single for Essex. They'll think about the second, but Miles Hammond down there, I think it is, gets down to it, and it's just the 1 to add to the score for Essex, 115 for 5.
He doesn't have a very big leg side boundary to bowl to either, does De Lange with his 2 right-handers, and he's got to be careful with these last 2 balls.
He's on his way into young Charlie Allison, short delivery, which has cleared the ropes for 6. There was a man out in the deep, but it was over his head as he went for the attempted catch out there. Darcy Short on the boundary rope, but Charlie Allison gets his first boundary of the innings, 121 for 5. Really, really useful couple of deliveries for Essex.
It's that length again, and I mean, De Lange's thinking, well, he's not really middled that, but he doesn't have to. That's where the boundary is. I thought De Lange might come round the wicket for this last delivery, maybe.
He's into Allison, who tries it again. Has he got enough on it? He has. There was a dive out in the deep. It's another 6 for the Essex youngster. 3 from this De Lange over, which has changed the complexion of things for Essex, who look to be struggling 5 wickets down. They are 127 for 5 at the end of the 14th, needing 185 to win in total.
Well, I mean, Hammond very nearly got there. It just about was placed well enough by Allison. He was watching it so carefully off his bat. Hammond, I think, maybe made a gesture that he might have lost it in the lights or something like that. He sort of pointed up to the sky, but in the end enough on it, and that could be again I mean, we keep saying this could be the over that changes it. Looked as though Charlesworth's over was the one with the 2 wickets and the 5 runs. That could be the one again there. Gloucestershire back to needing to pull this back. 58 needed from 6 overs. Taylor in and bowls, good Yorker. Critchley forces the ball down to long off. Just the single. I just think, I mean, again, there, that's especially that last ball, having seen the 2 sixes, something had to change, and Gloucestershire did exactly the same thing. If De Lange had at least come round the wicket, then at least Allison's having to pull against the angle, but 3 times same shot, 3 times same outcome. Taylor bowls backing away, driving out to extra cover. We had to watch that bounce carefully, Jack Taylor, because that went sideways on him, I think, and bounced a bit, but it's a dot delivery, 57 from 34. The crowd are living every ball of this.
I think they just sensed in that last over, the way in which Critchley and Allison hit out, that they just needed the crowd. There was some rather out of tune singing, but encouraging noise from the Chelmsford crowd on Friday night.
Taylor in and tucked leg side, sprinting off for that first one is Charlie Allison, and then having to stay put at the non-striker's end. 56 required from 33 balls, absolutely nip and tuck here, and it has been that way pretty much all game, with really Gloucestershire almost in last chance saloon in this competition. They know that this is a game that they have to win, especially having got themselves in a position where they could win it. This is a game that has to go their way to build some momentum towards the end of the competition. So there's that pressure out there in the middle that they've got to defend this. Fine leg comes up, Taylor bowls, ramp 4 runs. Reverse ramp from Critchley, beautifully executed. Gloucestershire pretty much gave Critchley that option and asked if he was good enough to do it, and he certainly was. Straight off the bat, enough elevation and enough power, and 4 runs.
No question there. Great creativity from Matt Critchley, just surveying where those gaps were and how he can find those boundaries for Essex.
52 from 32. Critchley and Allison going great guns since they came together. Taylor Bowles, short ball, pulled for 6. Over backward square. And that is a huge blow as far as Gloucestershire are concerned, because this over had started well, but another short ball. Gloucestershire are trying these short balls, but they're not working. Critchley and Allison both getting hold of them, and now Essex favourites.
Or you can just feel the way in which the Chelmsford crowd has lifted. They've been trying to encourage Critchley and Allison to build this partnership, to keep going with those boundaries, because yes, they're entertaining, but it's been crucial as well for Essex just to keep that rate and to get ahead of that rate, moving on to 139 for 5 now, as they need another ball from the case. It's been a very busy night for the case, but that's really positive from Essex and Critchley and Allison. A partnership is needed here, just as was built in the Gloucestershire innings, and I think this is probably the best atmosphere we've had at Chelmsford in a T20 so far this summer.
Last ball of the over, Taylor into Critchley, pulls it down the leg side, misses it, but it's called a wide. It's too far down there from Matt Taylor, and to be honest, he's quite lucky that there wasn't any bat on that, because that would very likely have been at least 4, if not 6, if Critchley had managed to swivel on that one. So last 2 overs, Gloucestershire just coming apart. 45 required from 31 balls means the required rate, which was at 11, is now down below 9. Taylor bowls a slower, wider ball, steered away, that's 4. What a calm, collected shot that was from Matt Critchley. It looks as if he just pushed it to backward point, but he knew exactly how to angle that one to get it between the 2 fielders. And in these 2 overs, you'd have to think surely now the decisive move has been made by Essex. The previous over brought 21 runs. That over's brought 16. And Gloucestershire, they are going to have to really be aggressive in terms of their bowling changes now. Josh Shaw coming back, he's got 2 overs left. David Payne's got 1 left. They are going to have to take wickets. That's the only way that they're going to win this game from here.
Yeah, really nice shot there from Matt Critchley. It was just placed, and it didn't look as if it had the pace on it that it did in the end to run away to the boundary for 4. How important could that be for Essex? 144 for 5. It will be Josh Shaw from the Sir Alistair Cook end. He's into Charlie Allison, who's played that one out safely into the offside for a single, keeping things ticking along now. 145 for 5. It's 40 to win from 29.
They've gone short a lot, Gloucestershire. It was short stuff that worked quite well for Essex at the back end of their innings, but it was more short, slower rather than short pace on. And Gloucestershire, their attack is quicker than Essex's as well, so there is that extra pace on for the Essex batters to use that maybe wasn't there when Gloucestershire were batting.
Critchley was just halting proceedings to do up his shoelace. As Shaw is into Critchley, and he's hit that one uppishly. Oh, there's a misfield, and they think about coming through for the single. It was just a throw that got stuck in the hand of the fielder as he looked to release, and Critchley was very keen to come through for the single, but they didn't do so in the end, and it remains 145 for 5.
It's been quite an adventure for Jack Taylor in the field. That juggling catch, the ball that almost went sideways off the edge of the square, and then that throw.
Shaw is in, full delivery, and he has bowled Matt Critchley. It's been a useful 27 from the Essex middle order man. He's hit what could be some crucial runs for Essex, but it will end on 27, bowled by the returning Josh Shaw, 2 for 19 now his figures, and Essex needing 40 to win are 145 for 6.
Oh, what a ball that is from Josh Shaw, the Yorker from the Yorkie, and it has seen the back of Matt Critchley. There's one of the wickets that Gloucestershire needed right up in that block hole. Could not get a machine to place it any better than that, and Critchley tried his best to shovel it away, but it squeezed underneath that bat and cannoned into the stumps. And yet again Josh Shaw has a 2-for. He might need to turn it into a 3-for or a 4-for, because Gloucestershire are still behind in this game, and there is still batting to come for Essex, with Harmer coming out there, but still Thane and Snater, Shane Thnater. Those two still to come anyway.
It was a really interesting innings from Simon Harmer here 2 weeks ago against Kent. He came in when the game had really got away from Essex. It was a very angry atmosphere he came out in, and he went on to hit an absolutely blistering 55. You could really feel the tension in him as he plays this ball to mid-off from the first delivery he faces from Josh Shaw. It was quite astounding, really, for Essex to be in the situation that they were in that game, knowing that it was out of their reach, but you could just sense Harmer as captain coming out and pouring everything he felt about this run so far in the T20 Blast into that innings which he played, which did give the crowd here who had stayed some entertainment at the end of that match. It showed that they won't go down without a fight, as Shaw is in, and that one is driven squarely by Harmer for just a single.
He certainly can be a finisher. And, remember back to the T20 finals day that Essex won. One of those finals day moments as Simon Harmer smashed a straight 6 to get Essex within reach and a dangerous customer. But it's over so far, exactly what Gloucestershire needed. But here comes the last ball.
Shaw is in, and that one is played out into the offside by Allison. It's fielded with a tumbling stop from David Payne, so 3 singles from it, a wicket, that of Matt Critchley, going down for Essex, 147 for 6 at the end of the 16th, which means they need 38 to win from 24.
Well, it's been feast or famine, sort of the theme of the cricketing day, really, with what's gone on at the Test match, with 6 ducks in England's innings, and yet 184 not out from Jamie Smith, highest score by an England number 7 and by an England wicketkeeper, breaking records left, right and centre, and Harry Brooks 158. But the one record he didn't break that still stands, Gloucestershire and England's Gilbert Jessop from 1902 for the fastest 100 for England in Test cricket. That lives to fight another day. I think surely one of these days it will go, but Jamie Smith just coming up a little bit short. In another situation he might have been able to go for it, but it's rather more important that he scored the runs that he did. But it's either been great overs here for Gloucestershire or great overs for Essex. David Payne is bowling his last over. First ball slapped by Allison along the floor down to long off. 37 required from 23. And there is still, for Essex, even whilst there might be some nerves returning as the required rate creeps back up a little bit, but they do know that there's still that 1 over that Gloucestershire have to get from somebody other than Taylor, Shaw and Payne. Payne in now, bowls, and driven by Harmer down to long off, trotting through for 1, and this continues to be taken that little bit deeper. 36 required from 22. Just seems so determined they're not going to take a risk off Payne at this stage.
Mix of balance, the balance, I should say, of experience and youthfulness out there for Essex, with Allison and Harmer at the crease.
Allison on 18. Payne runs in, bowls. Allison backs away, slaps it through the offside. Just a simple single as Jack Taylor trots around from extra cover and delivers a 1-bounce throw into the keeper this time, rather than the fielder at short third. 150 comes up for Essex. That's the reason for the applause. It's 35 required from 21. It's fluctuated about that required rate, but it's around about where it's been for a lot of the innings. Payne in, shorter ball, it's been top-edged. In fact, no, it's come off the helmet and gone straight back to David Payne, and we're going to need a concussion check here, as it will be a dot ball. And Simon Harmer, having been hit on the helmet, will need a head injury assessment. Or turned his head on that slightly as well, caught the side of his head. I don't know that it was a full pace on delivery from Payne, but even so, absolutely right that these protocols are observed.
Yeah, quick conversation between Harmer and the physio in the middle. Umpire happy, physio happy, Harmer happy, and we can continue.
35 from 20, the equation. Payne with 2 balls to go. Wonder if Jack Taylor's thinking he may have to keep Shaw going, because Shaw's been effective from this Cook end. So will Jack Taylor stay aggressive and keep front loading and thinking, I just need wickets? Also wonder where he's going to go with this extra over. So many things running through Jack Taylor's mind at the moment, but he's watching as Payne bowls. It's chipped in the air, he's going to be caught at backward point. And Simon Harmer goes, a 7th wicket for Gloucestershire, and David Payne has his first of the night. It was slow, it was wide. Harmer threw the shot too early, chipped the ball in the air, and Marchant de Lange gobbles up an absolute dolly of a catch. 150 for 7, 35 required from 19.
Yeah, again, the pendulum just swings, and Gloucestershire will be the happier of the sides. The captain, Simon Harmer, having been hit on the helmet in the previous delivery, has just chipped that one. And, well, it's been announced that Shane Sneijder's coming out. It's actually Noah Thane who's come to join Charlie Allison. So the 2 former England under-19 players who know each other very well will be at the crease to try and see this one out. Noah Thane, having played plenty of first-class cricket, has been a regular fixture for Essex, made his T20 debut just a couple of weeks ago.
Just the 1 ball to face this over. Payne to Thane. Oh, beautifully played. What a shot that is, first ball. Just delicately run between short third and backward point. And it swings back again. 31 needed from the final 3 overs. If that had just been a single or a dot, then Gloucestershire would have felt very much that they were back on top, but got a little bit of width there and
Beautiful
just so
shot.
Composed, waiting for the ball to come to him.
Well, if there's any sign of nerves in the Essex camp about trying to close out their first win of the campaign, Noah Thane is not showing it at all. That oozed confidence, that first ball that he faced.
It's just what they're like now, aren't they? The youngsters coming in. There's no more of this sort of backing down and showing a bit of respect or seeming a little bit overawed by the occasion. Just come out, hit your first ball for 4, why not?
Josh Shaw begins a new over from the Sir Alistair Cook end. That's clubbed up to long on by Charlie Allison for a single into the 18th over now. Essex need 29 to win, 156 for 7.
So I thought Jack Taylor would probably do this, and you know, they do tend to stay pretty committed to this philosophy, Gloucestershire, as most teams do in this situation, where if you've got the opportunity from your front line, I say front line, from your gun bowler, you use him.
I got ahead of myself. 155 for 7, 30 to win. Yorker length delivery from Shaw, which is turned up to mid-on by Noah Thane. There was a fumble on the throw as they thought about coming through for the second. In the end, the hesitation was too much, and it's another single. It is now 156 for 7, with 29 needed to win off 16 balls.
And that's the thing that those couple of wickets has done maybe a bit as well. If they were still 5 down, they might have taken that risk for 2, but they can't really afford a run out now.
Shaw is into Allison, chips that one safely into the offside for a single.
It's another cracking Yorker from Josh Shaw, who, I mean, his death bowling in the last couple of years, he was always a weapon in the power play, used to take good numbers of wickets for Gloucestershire when he became a more regular fixture in this T20 side about 4 or 5 years ago. but he's really worked so hard on his death bowling to complement that.
Thane waits, Shaw is in, Thane finds a gap there and he finds 4 runs to the Essex score, which gets a big cheer from the Chelmsford crowd. Well, he just managed to pick the gap in the Gloucestershire field there on the offside, 161 for 7.
It's really not far off the ball that Shaw wanted there either. It's an off-cutting slower ball, but just wide enough that Thane again can free his hands, and that seems to be where Noah Thane likes it.
And that one square of the wicket. Shaw is in again to Thane on the toes, clips it into the leg side. They'll think about 2, they'll wait, and they will just take the 1. It's all adding to the score for Essex, 162 for 7. They need 23 to win from 13.
Well, plenty of choices, I say, as far as the next over. I mean, Matt Taylor has the 1 left. Ollie Price, De Lange, Ben Charlesworth, Graham van Buren. Penny for Jack Taylor's thoughts.
Shaw bowls to Allison, he's gone high, has that cleared the ropes or is there a man down there? He has been caught. Ollie Price was out of our view on the boundary rope waiting for that ball, and Charlie Allison departs for 21, so still work for Essex to do, and they are 8 wickets down.
I thought Josh Shaw was going to bust a vein with that celebration, but well might he celebrate. That has been an absolutely terrific spell from Josh Shaw. 3 for 29 from his 4 overs, but it's the overs that he's bowled. It's those last 2 overs where he's come back, and not only has he only gone for 1 boundary in those couple of overs, but he has got 2 huge wickets. The 2 batters in Critchley and Charlie Allison, who looked as though they were the ones that were taking the game away from Gloucestershire, and a big fist pump from Ollie Price as well. Gloucestershire know that the job is very much not done yet, but that is a huge scalp to get at this stage. 23 from 2 overs, and Marchant de Lange's back. Well, 3 overs for 47, his figures read, but you know that he's going to have been in Jack Taylor's ear saying, give me this over, give me it, I can come back and I'll get it right. So Jack Taylor has trusted his senior bowler in De Lange, who has been hit very hard this evening, and he's got Noah Thane on strike. 23 needed from 2 overs. De Lange bowls. It's a slow full toss which just dips enough as it's pushed towards long on. He'll take 1, and Noah Thane certainly didn't expect that ball to be bowled there, and with the pace of De Lange, when he sees that come out of his hand, he's probably thinking, eek, that's heading towards my collarbone, but a slower ball and just below waist height.
Close finish in the women's 3rd T20 International. England have been India by 5 runs.
De Lange bowls, full toss, slapped down the ground. Should just be the 1. Sure-handed fielding from Ollie Price ensures that it is. Snater off the mark first ball, 21 required from 10. So they've kept the series alive then, England's women. Wow, 5 runs, yeah. A tight thing. De Lange in, bowls, good Yorker, skewed into the onside. There's nobody anywhere particularly near that, so they will be able to push for 2, and they will get there. They need just a little bit more than 2s, but a 2 is a good result of a ball that doesn't go to the boundary. 19 required off 9. Also means that Thane is back on strike, who's faced more deliveries. So 75 for Sophia Dunkley. Good to see that Danny Wyatt-Hodge got some runs as well, because she's been very short of them. 66 from 42. Building that England score up. De Lange bowl, short ball, hit high up in the air. Long on underneath it. Takes it. And it is a 9th wicket for Gloucestershire, and Marchant de Lange has come back, and he's only gone for 4 runs in 4 balls, and Noah Thane drags himself off. It is up to the last pair now for Essex. Mohammed Amir will be coming to the middle with 19 required from 8 balls. It looked as if it might just have a chance. It never looked as if he'd middled it, but it's not a long boundary down there to long on. Ollie Price was right on the boundary rope, taking it above his head, but he did take it, and Noah Thane has to go.
Really disappointing for Essex, being in a position where they looked as if they could go on and win this one in good positions, but I think it's really been a story of the T20 Blast for them this season, just not being able to find, or finding those moments, but not being able to turn them into victories. And unfortunately, that wicket has been a cue for some of the fans here at Chelmsford to leave. It's 19 to win now from 8 balls.
Leaving with 19 needed off 8, that, well, perhaps they're not leaving, perhaps they're just going to watch it from somewhere else, but yeah. Here's De Lange to Amir, who blasts it through extra cover for 4, and that's why you don't leave. 15 from 7. We've seen Mohamed Amir hit them before. He's not a mug with the bat. And he got a ball that was full from De Lange, one of the few deliveries that he's really tried to hit the block hole with. He just missed the block hole. Amir backing away, creating room for himself and splitting the gap.
Yeah, never leave any kind of sporting event early is my motto. You never know what's going to happen. 170 for 9.
And also especially because Gloucestershire have got to find this last over from somewhere. Matt Taylor, you'd imagine, will bowl it. 3 overs, 1 for 31 so far. There's 1 ball left of De Lange's over. Gloucestershire have obviously got a little bit of time. In fact, they've got lots of time. They've got through these overs very quickly. Obviously not quickly enough for the fans' liking, as they being slow hand clap, but Gloucestershire will take their time here. They've got actually 3 minutes until they have to start this last over, and they're going to rile the crowd up even further by performing another field change with Jack Taylor in discussion with Marchant De Lange. Yorker again, or shorter ball. You'd imagine he'll be looking to angle it across the left-handed Mohamed Amir. 15 needed from 7. De Lange in and bowls, and that's hit hard to mid-off. It will be stopped by Jack Taylor, and Mohamed Amir will keep the strike for the final over. I think you've probably just got to take every run that's on offer at this stage, but it is 14 required. Matt Taylor will have the ball, and 1 wicket at any point does win the game for Gloucestershire.
Very finely poised then going into the final over of the match here. You're listening on the BBC Sport website and app. It's Victoria Polly and Ed Seaborn with you, and it will be
Matt Taylor.
Matt Taylor to bowl from, this is the first over he's bowled from the Sir Alistair Cook end, is it? I think he may well have been or bowled his other 3 from the Graham Gooch end. 1 for 31. The Chelmsford crowd doing their best to put the pressure on Gloucestershire, and apologies if you hear any strong language in the background of our commentary this evening. 171 for 9, 14 to win then for Essex from the final over of this game. Mohamed Amir on strike for Essex as Taylor is in. It's a swing and a miss from Amir, who wanted to come through for the run and is told to go back by Shane Snater.
Nothing's routine out there. We've already seen 1 ball bounce past Cameron Bancroft. he sort of sacrificed taking it cleanly for just keeping the ball in front of him and ensuring that it was a dot.
And a dot ball just ramps up the pressure for Essex. Taylor is in. It's another swing and a miss. They think about coming through for the run, at least Mohamed Amir wanted to. There was never a chance of it. No point taking the risk with only the 1 wicket in hand, but 2 dot balls make it very, very difficult for Essex now. Still 14 to win.
And Taylor not trying to do anything too special here, which I think is the right thing. You've got, yes, Mohamed Amir can hit him, but do have a number 11 out there. It may not need to be the absolute perfect Yorker, just land it.
Taylor is in, short ball, they're going to go for the run, and it misses, but they will get the run out of the other end, will they? Yes, he's out. Essex needed to take the risk in the final over if they were to get anywhere near that total of 185. It finishes with a run out, and Essex still without a win, but they've run Gloucestershire close here at Chelmsford this evening.
Well, Gloucestershire had to win that game. As I mentioned, they had a lot of pressure on them, given that they got themselves into a pretty good position. There were times in that chase when it looked as though it had got away from them. There were times when it looked as though they were really starting to grab control, but in the end, they have held their nerve, Gloucestershire. They pretty much needed to bowl Essex out, you felt, when there was that onslaught from Critchley and from Allison. But in the end, nobody from Essex quite going on to make that 50-60 score that would have won this game. It's been a cracking game of T20 cricket. I know that a lot of people will be frustrated with the outcome from an Essex point of view, but we've seen lots of runs, we've seen lots of wickets. I think the pitch has actually offered enough for just about everybody. I think it's been a really good cricket wicket, and it's produced an exciting finish, and Gloucestershire keep their competition alive. They've won 3 in a row, having lost their first 5, and they play Middlesex next, who are the side right around where they are. So really they've left themselves very little room for manoeuvre, but they have got a massive 4 points from this game.
And from an Essex point of view, out of reach in the group. They sit bottom, still without a win from the 8 games played. And a similar story really to what we've seen, players getting in, not able to go on and make those big scores, and in the end too much to do in the final overs for that last wicket stand. 13-run defeat for Essex here in Chelmsford. They go to Surrey, double header for the Essex women and men. The women back in action at Old Trafford tomorrow against Lancashire before both teams play at the Oval on Sunday. So do hope you can join us for commentary of those matches. But thanks very much to Ed for his company this evening. Safe journey back to Gloucestershire, and we will join you again for the respective commentaries of these teams very soon. Do look out for reaction from BBC Essex with the post-match of tonight's game. Ed, anything anyone can find from you?
Yeah, well, my interview, I'm sure, will make the morning bulletins on Radio Bristol and Radio Gloucestershire, so do keep an ear out for that tomorrow morning. Thank you very much, Victoria. It's been an absolute pleasure, as ever. Who knows, the next time Gloucestershire and Essex meet in the T20 with a possible restructuring, but hopefully Gloucestershire have a trip to Chelmsford next year.
Thank you very much.
So on the pitch now we have the presentation of the Woodland Group Eagle of the match, and for his 3 for 33 it goes to Essex number 5, Mohammed Amir. So all pictures being taken. We've also got here our Woodland Group Young Eagle of the match, and that's Henry Scannell, and he's just going to ask Mo to sign that for him. His shirt will never be washed again. Great stuff. Thanks, Mohammed, and thank you, Henry, and thank you for your support. Don't forget, I know we've sold out for next Friday for the Sussex Sharks game, but make sure you're here the following Thursday, 17th of July, Hampshire Hawks, 7 o'clock. So log on to the website to get your tickets for that. Thanks for your support once again, and we look forward to seeing you in a week's time.